Hello, folks out there. This episode of the podcast is partnered by Audible. Greg, you know what I love about Audible?
What do you love about Audible,
I
John?
don't have to pick up a book anymore and carry it around with me. In fact, I carry it around in my phone, which is amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. They literally keep thousands of titles right on your phone, accessible at any time when you're driving, when you're cooking, when you're mowing the lawn, changing a diaper, doesn't matter. It's all right there at your fingertips, John. They've got podcasts, they've got lectures, they've got some like health and wellness and like fitness series on there that if you just are looking for something to fill that gap, like you're not getting into a book right now, it's all there for you, man.
If you're a member, Greg, what's cool about it is you get 3 titles per month. The first one you can pick whatever you want. Like I've said, I'll probably start hitting up some of those health and wellness books. And then what's awesome is they have 2 Audible exclusives. Exclusives, folks. You can't get it anywhere else.
It's true. That is very true. So if you guys want to get on the Audible train, you can go to audibletrial.com/JATG. That stands for Johnny and the Greg. Hook yourself up with a 30-day free trial. No promises, no nothing. If you don't like it, which I can't imagine you're not going to like it, you can cancel at any time. But the great thing about that is the books you get during your free trial, or if at any time, those books are yours. Like you get to keep them. You can listen to them nonstop, anytime, all the time.
Sounds like a deal to me, man. So if you guys are smart, like I know you guys are, because you already listen to this podcast, sign yourself up, guys. What do you got to lose? It's 30-day free trial, and it's books, it's knowledge. Gotta drink it up.
It is. It is. So one more time, it is audibletrial.com/JATG.
Here we are, back and better than ever. Johnny and the Greg. And Greg, we had on a guest today that I had a lot of fun.
We did, and we had so much fun. We lost track of time, like severely lost track of time.
Yeah, so this is a long one again, guys.
Felt like 45 minutes. It's 2.5 hours, or maybe not quite 2.5, but it's over 2 hours. So we were talking on Instagram. He's known as TrisRex. You can find him at TrisRex on Instagram and on Facebook. I will link to those down below. His name is Tristan. He is a cosplay creator. He does armor, like cool looking, full on, like armor suits, like Hollywood level stuff, man.
Yeah. What I actually, what I got from the conversation that I was really pleased to hear is that he really puts a lot of thought. He puts a lot of passion into it, and he puts a lot of himself in whatever journey he's at in his life. He puts that into his work, and so it's straight from his heart, straight from his soul. I've always thought cosplayers were just like, they just put on a cool costume and they go, but no, man, this guy is dedicated.
He's an artist. I'm flat out. He is an artist, and he is putting his art through the medium of cosplay.
Yeah. So, Marshall, if you have a long drive, 2 hours, you're welcome, sir. All right, man. Hope you guys enjoy this as much as we did. Tristan Johnson. What's up, Tristan? How are you, sir?
What is going on, Johnny? I'm good. I'm good. I smell like smoke and lizard. Been working on a new project and just hanging out.
What do you mean lizard? What do you got?
Got a lot of lizards. I've been chilling with the lizards today, and
a lot. You have like a giant ass iguana.
Is that what they are? That's several. I got iguanas, monitors.
Well, wait. Are we talking about real animals?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought he was talking about something he was putting together for a cosplay.
No, okay. You didn't Facebook stalk him enough.
I guess I did not.
Deep into his Instagram.
Yeah, I'm out here just hanging out, man. It's a cool Sunday here in Chicago. Yeah. What about you?
Greg, where are you from? I think it's what
I'm Wisconsin.
Okay.
I'm like midway between Madison and Milwaukee in a middle of very rural, like we don't have anything here. We're considered unincorporated. So we got a gas station, we have a butcher shop, and that's all I need. I'm good. I'm good right there.
Gas and food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm with
I
it.
am in Buffalo Grove. So, Tristan, all I'm waiting for is how good this conversation rolls. Depends on how soon I can come to your little lab there and put on all that bitchin'
Ooh.
stuff behind you.
Yeah, man, the studio. It's the studio has been getting a lot of attention.
Awesome.
It's cool
Yeah.
because I'm, in a big space now, which is what I've always been wanting to just like get some room finally, man. I came from making huge monsters and armors from a small Pilsen bedroom. And if,
Okay.
if you guys are familiar with Chicago, if anybody listening is familiar with Chicago, Pilsen bedrooms are freaking small.
Yeah.
And like going from making man bats in my lap to having like all of this room is like, okay, I could do this. I could do
That's
this.
cool. Moving on up, right?
Moving on up. Moving on.
Now, a lot of your
It's all,
stuff, I want to
what you think?
say, I was gonna say a lot of your stuff, and for people that are looking, go to TrisRex on Instagram. Right? It is as I got to scroll up to get back to your address
Yeah.
bar. Yeah,
We'll connect
Just
it in the comments. below.
TrisRex. Yeah, link in the comments down below. But I mean, you're making when we say cosplay, and some people have like something in their head when you say cosplay, because cosplay can go from, especially when you're at like conventions, people like just sporting a Flash T-shirt with like a mask on to what you're doing are like full on sets of armor, and
Mhm.
I mean it's amazing stuff. And I've been going through my old pictures of the cons because I know I've seen you. I think I've gotten my picture taken with you. I'm trying to find. I think it was your Killmonger. I'm
Okay.
I'm
Okay.
trying to find my picture with Killmonger, and I want to put that in our promotional stuff because I'm like, I know I've seen you at like C2E2 and Wizard World throughout the years, and totally
Those are my two.
impressed. Always
Thank,
impressed.
thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. How did you get into this, Tris? Or I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Do you prefer Tris or Tristan or?
Tris is just fine.
Cool.
All right.
I actually prefer Tris because it's just, that's what everybody call me.
Sounds good.
But yeah, I got into cosplay, more so like practical effects now, which is like kind of like what my work is leaning towards. But I got into it just like therapeutic needs, just like coming home after work, playing video games, or going to the gym just wasn't cutting it anymore. I needed that creative outlet as far as how to express myself. And I was going through some stuff at the time,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, you know what, maybe I should just like start cosplaying and just like make some stuff, just to get away from the whole hustle and bustle. So it was mainly for therapeutic needs. I've always been into the world of sci-fi, comic books, horror, and it turned into this, which is kind of just weird. Because like I was trying to get away from work, but then that kind of turned into work, but happy work, fun work.
Yeah.
What was your day job before?
I started cosplaying when I was a marketing manager.
Okay.
Marketing manager, which is pretty much like I've been in the world of business analytics / project management.
Yep.
Since like 2017-ish. So that's like been my world, been very focused, broader picture things, super project focused. So
Mm-hmm.
a lot of stress to come with that. And this was one of the outlets that truly just let me be me. And it's funny because the better I got at cosplay and the bigger cosplays I started doing, it came to be full on project management type cosplays where it's like, okay, you need this type of material, you need this done by this so we can do the fitting. It became like projects in itself, which made my project management even better at work.
Mm-hmm.
So they kind of like balanced out. So it was super dope. It was super dope to see how that changed me because I started to think about things in a more holistic view from start to finish here in the cosplay world too.
So what was your first cosplay that you did? Like what was your first project that you said, okay, I'm gonna take a swing at this?
It was
the
Killmonger.
Oh, it's
Killmonger?
Killmonger. Okay.
Killmonger. Yep, that was the first one. I was like, you know what? I just got to do it. The Black Panther movie was coming out, and I saw that
Yeah.
armor. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna start small. I'm gonna take a crack at it. If I get this right, we'll progress. We'll progress. And I had so much fun doing it. It was just like the process itself. Just building it was fun. You know, getting to
Yeah.
the con was even more fun. But it's just a little bit more gratifying when you it's like, no, I made this. Look at me. You know, it's
Yeah.
like show and tell all over again.
Yeah.
Well,
Greg, I've always thought that you and I are one real good. Oh, okay. Greg's showing
yeah, I'm showing it right
Killmonger.
now.
Yeah.
So
You
for
scared
those
me,
of you
man. I
that
thought we hit offline.
no, I because I'm like I said, I'm deep into his Instagram right now because
Yeah.
I just love
That's
cosplay
yeah.
in general. But yeah, so here's the side by side, and this was something that you made, like you put it together right away, or were you like piecemealing pieces together, or what?
Yeah, so pretty much what I made was just like the vest
Mm-hmm.
and the
Saw
undervest
that
for it.
here.
Everything else I just like sourced from like undergarments, like
Yeah.
materials I already had around the
You
house.
didn't sew your own camo pants?
No, I didn't. So nowadays I will, but no,
Yeah.
I didn't sew my own camo pants. Got those from Old Navy. I love those pants, by the way. I still wear those just to work in.
I
Those
can.
pants went from
They look comfy
cosplay
as
to
hell.
like
Yeah.
very functional. And those boots are made for Chicago winters. I tell you that.
Oh,
Sounds
that's
good.
when they move C2E2 to like that winter, like February. You're like, oh man. And my heart immediately went out to some of the cosplayers because I'm like, some cosplayers whoa, my dog's going nuts. Some cosplayers they don't wear a lot, and you're like,
This is very true.
girl, how are you going to get get to the convention center without freezing to death?
Oh yes.
Yeah, that's I've always wondered that, but actually I've never wondered that. I've always just gone, that's a brave one right there. That's someone committed. But like I was saying, Greg, I have always felt you and I are one real good experience away from just diving headfirst into this world.
Well, I would say I would agree with that, and especially, I mean, my wife is a creative. She's in graphics. She's got a double major in marketing and an art degree. So
Yeah.
she saw, or she looks at cosplay and is like, that'd be fun. That'd be really cool. But again, having no space, no even knowledge of how to do it, but I mean, you look up these guys that are, I'm assuming you're like, doing the foam molds and, even people
Yeah.
like doing their own fiberglass. And you're like, oh my gosh, that's a level. I'm like, how do you get to that? And so that's a good question. How do you
Yeah.
get to that level? I mean, when
Yeah.
you're first jumping in and you see people like yourself and you're like, oh, that would be great to be at that level, but you have no idea how to get there.
Before you answer
Right.
that, Tristan, did you ever see the guy at C2E2 who does the Thanos?
He's
I think I
got
know
the
who you're talking about.
huge.
Yeah.
I think I know.
He's on
So
stilts.
so going from Killmonger to
Yeah.
what the things you got behind you. Yeah, just walk us through that.
Yeah. And one of the things that I will always tell people is that it is very fun, but it is work.
Yeah.
One of the things that I will tell people is that I never really get comfortable because with each project, you will see that I'm trying something new or I'm like trying something just a little bit different, like same type of energy, same type of focus, but a new skill picked up with each one. And really, when I first started out, I was just YouTube and everything under the sun.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anybody from like Evil Ted, he was really good. Kamui cosplay, and these are people that that basically show you how to like make and design patterns, and they sell the patterns too. So it's like you could like
Mm-hmm.
go along with them. And as I started to figure out that okay, I'm not the smallest dude in the world, I'm gonna have to like kind of like finesse some of these patterns to make
Uh-huh.
things fit a little bit different. Cut them out a different way. Start using heat guns to make things cup a little bit more. Because I think I was like 255, 260, like coming from powerlifting when I first started. So it's like, all right,
You had
these
that
need to be
look.
tweaks.
I was gonna ask, and we'll get into that, but you had that look like you were a power lifter.
Oh yeah, I
I
love
love your swole ass Kylo Ren. Because
it.
you're like, I mean, and nothing against the actor that portrayed him. I mean, former Marine, he was in pretty good shape too. But to see like just like this massive Kylo Ren coming at you, I'm like, that's menacing. That is menacing.
I
Yeah,
got
that
that
would be
one a
menacing.
lot.
That would be.
Yeah,
That would be.
people like that.
Yeah. Hey, Tristan, I want to throw this at you. We talked about this at our podcast one time where Chris Hemsworth made a statement, and I'm going to butcher the statement, but it came to he was making a point that when actors are asked to gain weight, especially muscle mass for roles, they don't get as much credit as like someone like Christian Bale who lost almost everything for like that one movie, The Machinist. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, it could go either way. I mean, I think Christian Bale got more props for that because it's not necessarily the most desirable look to have. I mean, because when you think about what's marketed to us every day, and as far as like what the desirable male physique is, it is a men's health and fitness, muscle and fitness type of magazine looking body. So Chris Hemsworth, pulling that off, it's like, okay, yeah, that's usually what we see. That's usually on trend. But usually when you see somebody go from like Christian Bale went from like The Machinist to like Batman Begins, and then he puffed up again for this other movie.
Yeah.
Like what he does with his body is like totally different. And I think it's just the method acting that goes along with it.
Right.
The psychology that goes. I think that's why he gets a little bit more props because he's known for being like a serious diehard method actor.
Yeah. I think he went to Dick Cheney right after Batman, didn't he?
Well, it wasn't that one. I'm trying to look. I can't remember the movie he did.
Oh,
it was like
con
American
one where he was
like
conning
American
somebody.
Gangster.
Yeah,
kind of
Yeah,
thing.
right. He was big. I'm like,
yeah.
And he got chunky in that one. He got chunky for that one, and then he just kind of kept the ball rolling for Dick Cheney.
Yeah.
But that was and his Dick Cheney. You're like, I don't know how he's going to come back from that. I mean, that was
you're gonna have to be Batman again and come back from that shit.
Yeah. To that point, I'm very happy about the rise of the dad bod, because that's what I rock, and that's brings up a good point though. I mean, when being a bigger dude, I mean, obviously you've got that power lifter build, so you can pull off a lot more of even the superhero stuff. But when you're rocking a dad bod and you're like, somebody's like, hey, you want to cosplay a superhero? You're like, better be a chunky one because you want to, I mean, and for me, I wanted like, you want to do justice to the character. I mean, you want to, to make it look cool.
Right.
But I mean, Johnny and I were talking one year when the Netflix Daredevil series was big, and John's tall, skinny, cut. If he were to do that, the all black Daredevil costume from that series, and then I could pull off the Kingpin. I think that would have. See, if we would have got our shit together.
That's true. But now he would be God of War, and I would be Balder from that video game.
I still need to put on some size to pull that off, but
But back to you, Tris.
Yes.
What is your? I mean, you got the one that I was excited about that I saw on your Instagram was the Swamp Thing. I'm a huge Swamp Thing fan.
Yeah.
And are you in a green screen behind you, or is that actually like you could touch those guys behind you?
That's your studio, I think, isn't it?
My babies.
Oh, okay, yeah. That's the Hellbat, right?
Showroom. Yep.
Is that a werewolf on top?
No, I think that's his man bat.
That's man bat. Yeah.
Is that hanging up, or is it really that tall?
No, he's on a stand.
Okay.
I got like these little light posts, these little extra light post stands you get from Amazon, and they get like 10 feet. So I got them hanging off that. I was gonna have his wings going out on the sides,
Yeah.
Just kind of like make it like a bigger group shot, but I'm gonna fix up a couple things before I do that.
I'm actually glad you didn't, because half the podcast it'd be just me doing this.
Oh,
Staring at the screen.
Yeah, I totally would forget that we're talking. But yeah, oh God, those are all really impressive. I'm wondering which one. Okay, you went from Killmonger, then where'd you go?
So I went from Killmonger, then I went to Deathstroke, which is a
Mhm.
DC villain.
Yep.
Everybody knows Deathstroke.
Yes.
And I did this version of him with the mask off. Then we went to Black Manta because that's when the Aquaman movie was coming out. Chilled out for just a little bit. Then I did the DC Prime Batman, which was like one of these cool action figures that was coming out, but it was still like years away. And actually, that action figure, I forgot what magazine it was for, but it got action figure of the year. So I'm very proud. And the artist that penned that one and designed it, he was very happy for me too. So go DC on that one. And then we got to Swamp Thing. That's when things changed with Swamp Thing because I think people are just now like recently understanding that it was always a bigger universe or always like
Mhm.
a league of heroes that I was building up towards.
Mm-hmm.
And it was never just about Swamp. But that's
Oh, okay.
I noticed that things were just changing, and I noticed my love for creatures. And then we got to the trench monster, which is the blue monster that came right after Swamp Thing.
Mhm.
Then we did.
Hang on. I'm sorry to do that to you. I'm going to interrupt because Greg is going through all your
Yeah.
pictures, and I'm looking at the Swamp Thing. How heavy is this, Tristan?
Head to toe 50
50
pounds
pounds.
easy.
So
Wow.
at the end of a day, at the end of a con, are you like exhausted?
Toast. I'm
Yeah.
Yeah.
toast. It's one of those things where it's how physically demanding. People don't understand how physically demanding it can
Right.
be to wear some of these suits. And
Walk us through it. Yeah.
and the funny part is, I was the actual actor that played Swamp Thing on the DC Universe HBO Max series that just came out. Was talking about the physicality and what you got
Mhm.
to go through. But before I actually got into the suit, you would have thought I was about to work out. I had Gatorade with me with
Oh, sure.
BCAAs. I was
Yeah.
stretching on the floor because the way I built it is like shoulder. It's like football pads up top,
Yeah.
but everything straps around you as far as like your lower limbs and your forearms and stuff. So you got to keep moving to keep that blood circulating.
Yeah.
And when you're standing in line or when you're trying to get that photo done and your legs start to get numb, it's like, oh, you really start to feel the weight of it.
Yeah.
So since then, I've been trying to make things just a little bit more hollow, a little bit more
Try to get
lighter.
lighter. Yeah.
But it
What
adds up quick, man.
and what material are you using to create these?
Swamp Thing was made out of floor mat foams, as
Okay.
well as just some craft foam from Amazon, the little thinner foams to make the overlays and such, like you see in the shoulders, how it kind of separates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a lot of those were like little pieces that were just like wood burned and molded into place.
For those of
Eh,
you that actually listen to this on your podcast, I highly suggest you watch this one on YouTube. Greg's showing
yeah.
this guy's work, and it's incredible. So when he's talking about carrying 50 pounds of Swamp Thing, go on the YouTube, check it out, or go to his Instagram, and you'll see what he's talking about. This is incredible work.
Well, what I love about the Swamp Thing is like for like the layman fan, they can look at it and be like, "Oh, I think that's Swamp Thing," but for the comic guys, we're like, "Oh, that's the Green." I mean, you're getting like
Yeah,
deep into the character's mythology and the writers,
exactly.
and we can see that. I think it really speaks to your fandom,
Yeah.
to show that. And I don't want to I don't want to bring up the idea that I know some people get accused of just doing a character for the attention of the character and not really knowing anything about it, but the love that you have for the character is showing through in the cosplay and your attention to detail. And I mean, here's a shot of you on the C2E2 stage during the cosplay competition, and it's a great photo. And I mean, looking at this, the detail that you got in the woodwork, in the leaves, and even in the headpiece, the crown, but still having that classic like Barry Windsor Smith kind of piece that comes off the nose. I mean, that is fantastic.
Yeah. And I'm glad that you brought that up, because a lot of what inspired that the green is actually what I call them too. So I'm glad you peeped that.
Mm-hmm.
That Alan Moore run.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
The anatomy lesson, as far as like who Swamp Thing truly is. And at the time I was dealing with a lot of identity issues, I started a new job, recently married, probably wearing like several different hats just in life. And one of the cool parts about that story that Alan Moore did, it really explored the psychology of who Alec Holland really was. It made you question, was he the plant that became the man, or was he, a man that became a plant? Like, which one was it? And that's just the thing that I wanted to really show, as far as like how some veins actually turned into vines, or some muscles are tree bark. And the reason why he got that crown is because he finally owned up to it. Like, no matter who you question me to be, no matter what the monster that people see me as, I'm the king of the green. Which is why I decided to give him a crown, because I felt like I accomplished something myself throughout that project, as far as like owning who TrisRex really is, just going deep. And that's just been my shtick, is just to have like a common or relatable theme to go with each character, just to make it real, breathe some life into it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I love the idea that you're that passionate about it, and that you're kind of like a method cosplayer. Like you're putting real experiences.
Christian Bale.
Yeah.
Christian Bale of cosplay.
Own it. That's it. Yeah. That's your moniker.
I'm owning it.
Is that one? Wow,
awesome. He's getting love from DC fandom, like, which is, it's DC. I mean, DC is taking notice of your work, and I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, and they also really love that first Batman I did too. They reposted it on DC Collectibles.
Yeah,
was dope. I was honored, man.
I'm going to show people that. I know I'm bouncing all around here, but like, here's your side by side with that action figure that you talked about, and then what you had made, which is fantastic. And I do want to point out, and I think this is fantastic too. I don't, obviously you know who this lovely lady is, but like, your female armors that you're doing are fantastic as well.
Yeah, that was one of the ones I didn't get a chance to complete, because she didn't fit this. She was very good because she taught me a lot of things, but telling that broader universe story and taking everything I learned from that female armor and making my own Wonder Woman, I think that was.
I'm trying to find that Wonder Woman, because that is.
Hey, wait, Greg, can you go back down? Go back down a little bit. The one where it shows his chest of Swamp Thing, or the green. So go down a little bit. Right, stop right there. That is amazing. Is that on the back?
Yeah, I think
that's the back.
Oh, yeah, just how you got the branches and the root system.
Yeah,
and
that's incredible.
From the inside, it's just like, kind of like growing out the ground. And each time you see him, he might be a little bit different. You might. I was going
to ask you, do you ever consider these, like, put the rubber stamp on them, like, I'm done, or do you go back and tweak? Like,
I'm gonna tweak it. I'm gonna tweak it, definitely, for Swamp Thing, just to kind of revamp him. Since he's a fan favorite, I want to show him in a different light. And just being true to the comics, he's never the same. Every time he sprouts, he's a little bit different.
Yeah.
So the next time you see him at a con, he might have wings. I don't know. You got to see him grow.
Well, I can see how this is going to play out. We're going to be at a con. Well, we're probably going to be at like C2E2 or Wizard World, and we're going to see you, and you're going to have a helmet on. We're going to be like, "It's Johnny the Greg!" like shouting, and be like, "How you doing, man?" And you're going to be we're gonna hear because that's how they hear when it's right there.
Yeah, it's like don't. I
Hey,
always tell like, listen, I could see out of like this much.
Oh, I know. I love one of the first years I saw. There's a guy he did a fantastic Ben Grimm, and when you talk about the workout, he was, you could tell like just around his neck he was sweating out of that suit, just dying. But he had to be led around by a handler because he couldn't see anything. He had the helmet piece or the headpiece of the thing was not where his eyes were. His eyes were like looking out from almost like the throat area, and
Yep,
it
that
was
makes sense.
just like super tough for him to see anything. And I'm like, because for me, like when I go down to a con, I
oh
mean,
my
I'm
God,
walking
that is
around like
awesome.
all day. And to see these
Mhm.
cosplayers, I'm like, how do you guys do that? They're like, well, we don't do this all day. Like, we can't. It's
You
impossible.
can't. You gotta take a break. You gotta take a
Hey,
break, and that's one of
Greg,
the
go back.
things.
Go back to the other one where it looks like it's a movie of the Man Bat. So it's the next one. Yeah.
Well, this is a movie of the Man Bat.
Oh, is this you, Tristan? Is this your like you made this for this movie?
Yeah, I just wanted to make a little trailer. Make a little trailer. I just want to present them in a different way because with us not having the cons to look forward to, I just want to,
Oh,
Yeah.
you
can't
did
say,
this
hey,
during
here's Man
2020.
Bat. Yeah. This
Okay.
was 2021. 2021. The other four were made in
Yeah.
2020. So, yeah,
God, that
this
looks awesome.
is, and this is how I want you to first see them.
Yeah.
I want you to see them in their element because I made these with inspiration from 80s and 90s like classic horror films. So I
Mm-hmm.
don't want you to first see him in the light with all the details. I want you to see him like bending from behind a tree or in a
Yeah.
dark alley, and then you can see him. He could be cute and all that, but I want you to see the monster for what it truly is.
Well, and it looks
Yeah.
like you're looking. Are you working on the what his name's slipping my mind, but the Red Lantern? Are you working on
Atrocities.
Atrocitus.
Atrocious?
Yep.
Yeah.
This dude is a beast.
Yeah.
I was doing some detailing work before
Oh, wow.
I hopped on, and I can tell you, this is a combination of everything I've learned from Killmonger all the way up into Man Bat with even newer
Mm-hmm.
techniques. This is I think this, and plus this is going to be special because this shows what I could really do with the space.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Having my own studio,
Yeah.
and just like how I could really get down with nothing else holding me back, like me not being in a room or having to wait the neighbors out the way. Nah, this is just me going at it. So I think these next three villains are really going to showcase the future of the projects that's coming up. And I got a Scarecrow. Probably gonna do the Scarecrow around Christmas, but
Okay.
I got a friend that's gonna help me out with Poison Ivy too. So those three
Cool.
villains are gonna be super dope and super important to my portfolio as far as the story I want to tell too. So I'm going for it, y'all. I'm
That's
going for
awesome.
it.
That's exciting, man.
Yeah.
And I'm a sucker for a good Poison Ivy cosplay. I'm not gonna lie. Um,
Come on now,
so
who's not?
yeah, exactly.
I've been loving Poison Ivy since the animated series. Like
Absolutely.
super
Sorry,
So
frustrating.
guys. I'm Catwoman. Sorry. I just am.
Hey,
I
I love
I'm
Catwoman too.
I'm not going to discriminate. I mean,
Yeah.
um, so you brought up, and we've talked about like your work and stuff like this. Are you able to monetize this hobby? Are you able to kind of bring in? I mean, even if it's a side hustle kind of deal. I mean, because I think some people are thinking it certainly is a labor of love, and that you don't do it, but you hear more and more about people like leaving their day to days to do something like
Mhm.
cosplay. So are you in that space? Are you headed there? Is that kind of your dream?
Yeah, that's definitely where I'm headed. That's definitely where I'm headed. Right now it's more so about like, I mean, I'm pretty sure you peeped that I'm affiliated with a couple of companies that make
Hmm.
certain materials and such. So there's a little bit of monetization there as far as like tutorials and showing up at booths and such. But I'm headed to just like TrisRex Studios being the main source.
Hmm.
That's what I
Great.
want to do. And the goal is TV and film.
Okay.
With the
Awesome.
practical effects that I've been doing. You know, I got a lot of people in that space already. I'm like, hey man, you can do this, you can do this. But I'm like, well, the way money is set up in Chicago, you know, it's not necessarily something you just like, all right, no plan, let's do it.
Let's do it.
But,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely where I'm headed. And I think this is combined with my you know, project management, business analyst, savviness, all that other stuff. This is use that stuff to help me get those things into place. But I'm pretty sure this is my true calling. I'm pretty sure.
Awesome.
I'm willing to bet like $5 on it. Just $5.
And it's one of those things that when it becomes work, I mean, is it work that you're still loving, or is it like, because any job is going to have a bad day. Any project, anything is going to have a bad day. But if I've always said, is it work? You got to decide if it's work if you could do it for free, and obviously you have done it for free for when you got started. So I think you are right, and that is a calling for you, and because you're just so damn good at it.
Yeah, yeah. Just I've also thought to myself that if you can wake up and you're genuinely, not all the time, but I would say the majority of the time, if you're genuinely excited to go to work, you're good. Like you've made it. You know what I mean? Now it's just about having fun and creating that path, or creating that passion to keep moving forward and keep challenging yourself. But it sounds like Greg said, it sounds like you're there. Sounds like now the next step is just, how do I make this bigger, better? And speaking of bigger and better, do you have like an ultimate, like what's your Everest of cosplay? Is it like a Galactus? Is it,
Actually,
it Dark Side?
My Everest of cosplay is coming in Q1 and Q2 of 2022.
Okay.
Alien versus Predator is that year. Yeah. And basically it's gonna be my version of the Xenomorph, my version of the Predator, but also we're gonna explore the human inhabitants on that Earth too, and how you survive. So these aren't necessarily going to be the classic Xenomorphs, the classic Predators. This is going to be a totally new universe where everything is happening on one planet. How do these things work out? What happens when you see the big bad of the Xenomorphs go up against the big bad of the Predators? You know, it's gonna be trippy. It's gonna be trippy. So my Everest is actually coming soon, and I made a promise to myself, like, if you get the room to do it, do it.
Yeah,
I got
good.
the room. I'm not gonna waste any time because I'm not getting any younger, and I got the energy. So
yeah. Yeah. You don't have any kids?
no kids.
Get this
Well,
shit done
my
before the
lizards.
kids come.
The lizards are the kids. They help me. But yes, that's what everybody been telling me. Yeah, before a kid comes, and if the kid does come, you gotta paint. You gotta paint and learn how to cut something. You gotta put in on this family business, man. Ain't no free rides around here.
There you go. There you go.
But yes, I'm trying to get it done. But that is the Everest. That's the Everest. You know, I always said the Queen Alien, but I'm gonna take it a step further. I'm gonna be true to myself and tell my version of that Alien versus Predator story.
Well, that's going to be interesting because I've seen plenty of Predators walking around a con floor, and some really good looking ones. And my favorite shots to take with them are, of course, them killing me. But you don't see a whole lot of Xenomorphs.
Yeah,
like
you're right.
you see Marines, you see the Space Marines, but you don't see a lot of Xenomorphs. And I think that's going to be something.
The best. Only several people have seen my design for the Xenomorph, and the best way I could describe it is, do you remember the 90s Kenner lines from Aliens?
Yes, where they had the gorilla and they had the rhino. Yes.
Yeah.
It's gonna be like a hybridized version of it. You know, it's gonna be, you're gonna be able to tell it was from me, but it's not gonna be necessarily a tradition like the big chap or
Yeah.
like the warrior xenomorph. Like we've seen
Mm-hmm.
those. It's time to tell a new story. And
agree.
one of the things that really like pushed me to do this, because I was thinking, I had a poll on Instagram. I'm like, do you guys want to see a Resident Evil universe, or do you want to see Alien versus Predator? Alien versus Predator won by a landslide victory.
Yeah, I can see that.
I still want to do Resident Evil because I got some ideas for that would be totally dope to see on screen.
Yeah.
But Alien AVP, I feel is the Xenomorph project is, it might be one of the things I was always going to do, or like things were already like headed there since I was a
Hmm.
child. Because I've
Mm-hmm.
just been in love with this stuff, man. I've
Yeah.
been in love with Xenomorph since I could talk. And I think everything that I've learned, I'm like, all right, if I'm gonna do it, gotta happen now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Are you uh dang it, I had a good question. I lost it. Go ahead, Greg.
Well,
Damn it.
because I'm looking at your post that you did about AVP, and it's the coming in 2022.
Mhm.
And what a lot of people don't realize is that Giger, the original artist for Aliens, he had so many different designs, and like even his other work that has that same kind of xenomorph feel to it. But he gets into some like really interesting like tech organic kind of stuff that when I just remember being like early college, and I had met my wife, and one of them
Oh,
get
we
a coffee and
lost you.
walk around
Okay. We
forever.
lost you for a second. Sorry. Go
Oh,
ahead.
okay. Well, I was just saying that my good time date when we were in college, we would go around Barnes and Noble and just look at stuff, and I would always tend to go to the art books, and I would pick up a couple of the Giger books that were there and just page through them.
Yeah.
So you got a lot to work with, and you can do some really cool stuff.
Yeah. I've been trying to tap more into his work, and um the biomechanics is one of the things that really excites me the most.
Yeah.
Like how could you make something that's organic but also mechanical at the same time? And since I would say for the past couple of weeks I've been like rewatching all of the Alien films, even the non-canon ones, being AVP,
Mm-hmm.
just going through it. And not to get too philosophical or deep, but I think when you creating creatures like that, it's very important that you understand the life cycle. Like the
Okay.
xenomorph life cycle is like from the
Mm-hmm.
ovomorph being the egg, being the face hugger, the chest burster, and what they grow into.
Yeah.
And it's so many variations and so many different ways you could take it,
Yeah.
because the face hugger, like what it implants on and what it chooses as the host, is basically going to be that second base DNA for the xenomorph.
That's what I was
So
gonna say.
it lands on
One
a dinosaur. It's totally
yeah,
different.
yeah.
you know.
When I heard them break down the because I was look, the xenomorph is one of the most creative next to the predator's face. It's one of the most creative creatures ever created, right? It just is.
Yeah.
And one thing that the guy said when he was creating it, and I never noticed this until they said it, and then I noticed it in every movie, but they also create their DNA to their environment. So on the Nostromo, it became
Hmm.
very tubular,
Yeah.
very black, sleek. You could barely
Right.
like so when it was hanging up in all those tubes and all those things up there, you had no idea it was there. And he
Mm-hmm.
said like that was the point of this creature is the perfect organism because not only does it take the DNA from the human, but as it's growing, like as it bursted out of the chest, and now as it's going through the pipes and the sewer systems of the ship,
Yep.
it's creating that type of camouflage to where it looks like it's just part of the ship.
Yeah, it's basically like terraforming wherever it needs to
Yeah,
terraform.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Like, and the part that you talked about was the scene that used to freak me out the most, when when the Marines went in, and the xenomorph was just like part of the wall, and it's like, dude, how did you not see
Yeah.
that?
yeah,
But I get it. You never saw a xenomorph before, right?
yeah,
Right.
yeah. What always got me was the
Yeah.
one where the guy in the first movie was looking for the cat, and you saw like that thing come
Mm,
down behind
Mm-hmm.
him. That always got me. That made me go, damn. But I remember my question, Tris. How far are you to? Because it seems to me like you're so close. You got these Everests of creating characters that are already created, and you're trying to put your own little Tris spin into them. When does it become a Tris original? Like, how far are you from there? Like, what sketches have we just like played with where it's a Tris original creature from something?
Yeah, I got a couple ideas from originals as far as like some of the alter egos or me from like earlier stages in my life because one of the things that I will say is that a lot of the creatures that I create now, they were human at some point.
Okay.
But I think the
Mm-hmm.
Xenomorph and the Predator is going to be a good icebreaker for me because these were always predators and these were always xenomorphs. So I could just get rid of the human form, with the exception of the predator because they are hominoids.
Yeah.
But I got some really cool creatures that I've been thinking about and drawing up that I think will really be. It would be great for me, but it might be a little bit messed up for other people to see.
And I've always said what I really wanted to see out of those AVP films, and they turned into more action pieces. And I think even to this day, they still make the mistake of there needs to be a human element to these films. And I'm like, no, there doesn't. I mean, I want to see like we've glimpsed the Predator homeworld like that. It was a super quick, here's a shot of it and a ship taking off. But we don't know their society. We don't know we haven't seen a lot of it. And yes, there's a little bit more in like the books and the comics and things like that, but the general public hasn't seen how they're made up. I mean, what are the creatures that they have on their planet? I mean, we saw like the dog-like creature from the Predator one with Brody and Topher Grace and
Predators.
Yeah, Predators.
Yeah.
We've seen some things like that, but I think there's probably a lot more that we haven't seen. And they just keep wanting to bring them to Earth. And I'm like, no, go. I want to see their home planet. I want to see something based on that.
Or just show the war. Just show a war. Like they're going against the Xenomorphs and like show a good war. Yeah.
I would love to do something like that. Just like a AVP homeworld type of movie. And that's kind of one of the things I want to explore in 2022. Like, how does that look? Like, without the whole being on Earth element. Like, how does the head honcho of the Yautja tribe look? We see him in toys or we see him in like some of the books, like you said, but it's just like how does that stuff play out on the big screen? Like how does that look in person? And if I got a chance to make an AVP movie, I would pull out some stuff that's been in the back of my mind for years.
It probably would be a lot better.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I probably wouldn't have, and like you said, I probably wouldn't have any human actors in it.
It's probably
it'll be all practical with some CGI in it, and it would be a serious creature film.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have anybody in it.
We're sorely lacking good monster movies.
And I hate that.
Me too.
I hate that because I feel, for me, like I came up in '88. I grew up in 1988. By the time I got here, it was Aliens. I was a little bit younger for Alien, but it was Predator, Terminator. Stan Winston Studios was basically every other year throwing out masterpieces. By the time I was 5 in '93, I had Jurassic Park. So when it comes to creatures and movies, there's nothing you could show me or tell me that's gonna like surprise me. Right. I've seen like all of it. You know what I'm saying? So, and I just feel like the last cool creature. Well, the White Walkers from the Tomorrow War were pretty dope too. But we could say that for another time.
I haven't seen that movie yet, so yeah, I'll have to check that out. I haven't seen it yet.
Pretty dope creature. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm kind of picky when it comes to my creatures, but I was impressed.
Okay,
I was too.
Highly impressed.
Impressed. You know what? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just feel what CGI has done has kind of diluted monster making and creatures.
Oh yeah.
Because no, don't get me wrong, CGI is very helpful when you mix and blend the two together the right way.
Correct.
But there's nothing like seeing the creature in the camera, and I think it does something different to the actors too. Because I really appreciate, like, one of the last practical films that I've seen, and this was a while ago, where I looked at the behind the scenes and I really saw them going for it, was Underworld with the likeness.
Yeah.
And since then, it's just been like, well, it's cheaper just to do this in ZBrush or CGI.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, come on, y'all. Come on.
Yeah.
Well, John and I are a sucker for a good werewolf film. We've talked about that on the show before. I'm really interested to see Werewolves Within, that dark comedy that just released, I believe.
Oh, yes.
week.
Yes. Yeah, with the sheriff.
It's on Amazon.
watch
The
that.
sheriff. I've seen him in he's in actually the Tomorrow War. He was the black guy in Tomorrow
The comedic
War.
relief.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And
that
he
dude
plays.
is funny.
He's very funny. He plays the sheriff of this town where he's like, there's werewolves, and he was like, nah. And it's him and the AT&T girl, who is actually a really good actress in her own right.
She is. Yeah.
But you know, when you're talking about like the CGI just kind of not having the same feel or the same, you know, that spark to it. I remember watching the remake of It, parts 1 and 2. And Pennywise, to me, when it was Tim Curry and it was the made for TV miniseries, he was terrifying as Pennywise, and then with practical effects. And now, like, I didn't. As soon you could just tell as soon as they went to the CGI portion, you're like, it's just not as terrifying. And I didn't feel it as scary as it could have been had it been a practical effect.
Yeah. You know what Alien was overrated or underused? I don't know if Tristan, you might have actually collected this toy. Okay. The action figure, the Alien action figure from Independence Day, the first one. Remember that? That's a great
I remember that.
Alien that was
a
never
good
used.
Design.
It was
very good design.
Brilliant design, but it was never used properly. You barely saw it. And Will
You
Smith
mean like
punched it once.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, you mean like that bio suit that the actual
like
alien
tentacles in the back?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was dope. And you know what? I did have the big version of that from Toys R Us with the opening up face.
Yes.
We had the little the small Martian in it.
Yeah, the small Martian. I thought,
that.
wow, like I wanted to see those guys come out of the ship and like have, I don't know, like a fight, and I didn't get it. I just got Will Smith kicking it in a parachute.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know?
That's another one. That's another one.
You know what? Heading back to the Tomorrow War, which the creature design I felt was very solid, but I remember watching it, and I'm like, they are a step away, and it'll never happen, but they are a step away from doing the Brood from the X-Men books.
Oh yeah.
When I saw those aliens from Tomorrow War, I'm like, oh,
that's the Brood.
Yeah, it's pretty similar. It's not as buggy as the Brood was. But like their faces with like the long teeth and whatnot, I'm like, and then that just got me thinking, I'm like, man, if Marvel were to get it together and actually do a Brood invasion, that would be cool. That would be dope. That would
time out. I think you're insulting my Marvel. Are you telling me like they haven't gotten it together?
Well, not with the X-Men. I mean, I think
okay, all right, misunderstood.
Because the Brood are.
I'm like, damn, you're pretty harsh.
John gives
if
me
Marvel
shit.
ain't got it together, I'm like,
John gives me shit all the time for giving shit to Marvel.
Like, please, bro.
No, I love Marvel. I do. But I think what we're going to see with this fractured timeline is this is how the X-Men are going to be able to be introduced to the MCU. And like, if it was like in 10 years, they did a Brood invasion. Yeah. And it, focus on the X-Men and then bring in the other MCU universe. I think that'd be awesome.
Hey, Tris, have you seen Black Widow?
You know what? I have yet to see it.
Yeah, yet to see it? Okay. We won't discuss it then.
I've been telling myself, "Hey, sit down and watch Black Widow. Sit down and watch Widow." But I've been in here. I should just turn it on and just like watch it. But I actually want to sit down and get into that because I think she's a really cool character.
Yeah.
I don't know why I haven't. I have Disney Plus, but I just need to just sit down and do it. But I've been hearing good things about it. I've been hearing really good things about it, and that's on my to-do list.
Yeah.
But I've really just been watching old school monster flicks.
Okay, so you're in that creative state right now.
Yeah,
I get that with
I'm locked
writing,
in, bro.
but I understand what you're saying. Yeah, you're locked in your creative state, so you're watching a lot of, you're pulling back from really like movies that basically started your imagination as a child, right?
Yeah, like everything from like I would say from Alien on up to the last Conjuring movie, because I've been playing with a lot of demonic symbolism when it comes to this.
Okay.
When it comes to this character and what it means and what these three characters mean, like the recipe for somebody to be possessed or so how to be swayed over to doing things that you wouldn't necessarily do. So I've been watching that. I was just watching Leviathan the other day. That's a
Leviathan.
Yeah.
That's a sleeper.
Yeah.
That's a sleeper.
I actually don't like that one. I like the other one. It came out the same time. It was with Treat Williams was the hero in that one. The one I'm talking about. Deep Sea 6 or something like that.
Deep Star 6?
Yes. That was like a crustacean monster. That was a
I gotta rewatch that
monster.
I gotta rewatch that one.
I watched Leviathan because I remember grabbing it from the video store. I watched Leviathan
Great poster, by the way.
thinking I was grabbing The Abyss. So, and then I'm watching it's like I don't think this is the same movie that I saw like in the trailer.
That's funny.
Like,
but Leviathan it's a sleeper, man. People gave it me being younger at the time. I mean, I didn't think about criticism. I'm like, yo, this is dope. I don't care what anybody thinks. Like this creature, but then I see people kind of bashing it for the Thing and Alien type of inspiration, but I thought it was pretty cool, and it's good to see Peter be somebody other than RoboCop. Like
that's true. Yep.
Yeah, that is true.
Peter Weller, man. That's
so. I'm kind of curious. I mean, we're talking monster movies now, and this is where we're gonna go all over the place. Like I said, we're a sucker for a good werewolf film. What's your favorite werewolf design?
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Whoo! Dog Soldiers.
See, that's I was thinking that one.
The Lycan from Underworld has to be number one. Dog Soldiers is a solid 2.
While you're thinking, Tris, did you pick the Lycans as number 1 because it gears towards less CGI and more makeup and effects, or is it just a design that you particularly really liked?
Just from the aesthetics, period.
Okay.
And you want to know what's funny? I'm glad that you asked, was it a werewolf above me? Because honestly, Man Bat started out as a Lycan. I wanted to do it before I did Man Bat. So if you see some of the things like the super thick neck, the way the digigrade, it has a lot of Lycan inspiration from it. And shout out to Steve Wang too. He liked it. He liked my Man Bat. So that was dope.
Nice. That's cool.
Yeah, but Dog Soldiers and the Lycan. I would say another good CGI werewolf, the Van Helsing.
Yes, thank you.
I like that.
That was a good werewolf.
I loved it.
Again, it was CGI, but I did love the design because
that was dope.
Very like a humanistic, like muscled beast, but I like the snout. I like the elongated snout with the ears and the big fangs, and I thought that was good. The closest I think I'd seen to that on like a practical effect. I mean, you're going back to like Silver Bullet or even the old
Howling
1980s TV series called Werewolf.
Thank you, Greg. You know how much I love that show.
Yep. That's where they had a guy. He must have had like the metal like stilts or something like that he had on his front, and then something on his back.
But I'm sorry, I'm disrespecting somebody. American Werewolf in London has to be the best of
Oh
all.
my gosh, you're right, man. What is wrong
I'm
with us?
sorry. I'm
Yes.
sorry, Rick Baker.
Yeah.
I am so sorry. That is tied for me. That's tied with the Underworld liking, and the Underworld. I'm gonna tell you the reason why I like the Underworld liking.
Okay.
The Underworld liking, I like it because it's not necessarily all covered in hair.
Correct.
You know,
Yeah.
you can see some of the muscle striations where one.
Mhm.
I like that. When I look at a creature, I like to be able to know the story or be able to like tell kind of who they were before they
The
transformed.
differentiation, yeah.
Yeah,
I agree.
and I think the Lycans really did that for me.
Yeah.
And
I was a big fan of how they did the I think not Victor. Who was the other guy? In part 2, the vampire. They did a really good job with that makeup. What was the vampire's name in part 2?
I forgot his name.
The Scottish actor. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was they're 3 old names like Victor and Arthur and something else. Like they're very old names. But
yeah, when they woke him up, that was a really good makeup.
Yeah. Yeah, that was really good makeup. What about you didn't like the Benicio del Toro werewolves? You didn't like those and
I was going to bring that up.
You know what? That's a sleeper. That's a sleep.
I liked it.
That's more classic. Classic than what I would. I liked it, but it was still a little bit too more human.
Okay.
For me, but
I love a little too Teen Wolf for you.
I liked it though. It was really good.
Teen Wolf. My favorite part of that movie, I think it's an underrated movie. I thought it was good once you just accept for what it is. I thought it was a good movie. I really appreciated how brutal and
talking about the Wolfman, right?
Yeah, the Wolfman with Benicio del Toro.
Yeah.
When they were in the gypsy like camp and that wolf is tearing through them and just that one guy when he puts up a gun and it's like a car hit a like sheep and it's just boom and it's just the force that creature had. I loved how they did that. It was good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I gotta rewatch that one too. I gotta rewatch that one.
What I love about when you start talking movies is it just starts to churn your memory about all these other things, because we're talking Werewolf and Wolfman, and of course Wolfman got Nards popped right into my head. So Monster Squad Wolfman, which wasn't bad. I mean, I'm gonna throw this up on the screen.
I forgot what he looked like. I know didn't he have a coat on, like a
he had a ripped shirt, but I'm gonna throw this one up on the screen.
He was decent. He was good. That was another one that came.
Oh yeah, that's not bad. Yeah.
I mean,
that was a really good one.
Hey Greg, type in the Howling. The Howling.
Yeah.
The first
Is
one.
that the one? So it's this one werewolf movie where they're stuck on a train. I saw it was a CGI werewolf, but I don't. I'm probably gonna think.
Greg, go to the one all the way at the far end, at the top. That guy.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that one, Tris, that one scared that's the one where Eddie like transforms in that, he transforms in. It's one of the scariest transformations I ever saw. And what freaked me out about this movie, Tris, was that they didn't need a full moon. They changed whenever they wanted to. I was out of my
Here's
mind.
another decent shot.
The rest of the Howlings are horrific. They're horrible. But that
the first one is solid. And this is 1981.
Yes. Go up to see, you see where Eddie's changing right there? I already remember the character. I think it looks like it's a little plaything. If you go all the way up at the top.
This one.
Yeah, that's like a YouTube video.
Oh, was it a YouTube video?
It is a YouTube video.
Yeah, if you actually YouTube Eddie's transformation from the Howling, it's a work of art. I would put that on par with Rick Baker's American Werewolf in London transformation.
Yeah.
I would.
By Bob Botten. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tris, watch that.
I gotta rewatch that one.
Yeah, watch, and you should. I mean, it's a classic. It really is.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, that's dope. That's dope. I love werewolf movies. I
Oh, dude,
think
we do
werewolves
too.
just don't get the respect, man. It's
I
all
found
about
out
They
why they
don't.
zombies and
don't. I found out why they don't. It's too expensive to
okay.
Oh,
do
really?
those. Yeah, I
Wait,
Transformation
wait, wait,
scene?
wait,
yeah,
wait,
the
wait.
transformations, and they don't want to do CGI because how we're talking about CGI werewolves, like we don't really like them. But there you go.
Yeah.
That's the Van
This
Helsing one.
is
That's
That's
really
this is
cool.
Van
if you're
Helsing.
gonna go CGI, that's it.
It really
Yes.
is.
That's it. But here's the thing. I don't see making a really good practical werewolf suit being any more expensive than making a horde of zombies.
Oh,
Okay.
good point. Yeah, you have a good
I
point
don't,
there.
I don't, and it's just like zombies and vampires have been like ruling the past like
Hmm.
10, 15 years when it comes to movies.
Yeah.
I just don't see it being that
You're right.
expensive. Or I think it would be less expensive because you don't have to pay extras and like that's less makeup art.
Hmm.
I don't know, but I do understand that it is,
Well,
expensive.
I am excited about this new Netflix film. Is it Blood Air? Is that the name of it? It's vampires on a plane, and
Oh,
That's right. Okay.
there's the trailer out there. You sent it to me, John. And
Yes, it's creepy. It's
yeah.
creepy, but it's creepy in a good way. I don't know if you've
Hmm.
seen it, Tristan. It's a Netflix show about you're watching the trailer, and maybe if I can, Greg, you're Facebook friends with him, right? I think you can send that trailer to him or something. But
yeah.
anyway,
Yeah, we can.
yeah, the trailer starts out. You start out pretty much like, oh, this is just one of those flight movies, and all of a sudden it takes a left turn, and you're like, whoa, I didn't expect this. Oh,
Mm,
this looks really good.
Blood Red Sky is the
Blood
name of
Red
the film.
Sky.
well,
That's it.
I've
Yeah.
And I'm
heard
good.
that title. I've
Yes.
heard that
It
title.
looks good. And to be honest, I was really hoping she was a werewolf when she started to change on the plane, but she's a
Yeah.
vampire. Yeah, it's a mom who has to take an overnight transatlantic flight to get to somewhere where she's safe, but then hijackers take over the plane and they're redirecting the flight, and now it's she's gonna vamp out, and
Yeah.
but then it looks like it's one of those almost oh, what's the I want to say 20 Days Later, but that's not it. The Vampires in Alaska. What was that movie?
Oh,
I know what
Based
you're
on a
talking
comic.
about.
Um
damn it.
30
I
30
can't
days a
think
night.
of
30
it.
days a
30
night.
days a night. Yeah, Steve Niles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Almost like a Steve Niles design vampire where it's if you get bit, you're changing within like a couple minutes kind of thing, or a short amount of time. So she starts feeding on the plane, and all of a sudden this whole plane is now full of vampires. And there's a kid involved, so I think it's protect the kid, don't let the
Yeah.
vampires get off the plane kind of deal. So I'm
Yeah.
excited to see it.
Me too. I think it's going to be a good one.
How do you guys feel about the kids always making it out?
You want a kid to die, don't you? How dare you?
You know what?
Hey, listen, I was if I had this dream that was very funny because I always said I wanted to like make a Jurassic Park movie. And I had in the dream, I got turned down and bashed for a kid dying. In
Oh,
one of the opening scenes because it was like,
okay.
hey, we're gonna shoot it. We're gonna let people know that this is R-rated, this is real. And I had a raptor kill a kid, and the studios didn't like that.
No shit. Well, I mean, actually, I can see that because studios look at money. They don't look at good
Well,
storytelling.
They're like, now
it's
we
a
can't sell any merch. I'm like, but it's not
it's a
feasible.
very American point of view. I mean, when you
Yeah.
look at American films, when I really started to go to cons, and this was when at a convention you could find tables and tables of import and pirated videos, right?
Yep.
And I really got into like the Asian film market, like getting Jackie Chan movies that were released, like 3 years prior to when they would hit the States, and Jet Li and stuff like that. And I was watching one. It was a Jet Li film. I think it was actually called The Bodyguard. And I remember. Do you
That
remember the
sounds
shoe?
familiar.
Do you remember the shoes that had the little lights in the heels? Like
Yes.
when you step, they'd light up.
Yeah.
So they're in a house. It's pitch black, and the bad guys see this kid's sneaker like lighten up and goes, boom, completely blows off the kid's heel. And you're like, they shot a kid. I mean, it was just one of those things. And so I started to look at it. They're like, yeah, that's a very American film market thing of like, there's no violence against kids. You don't do that. And the fact that they
I
get away
noticed
from
that.
it, the
I
fact
didn't
that they
notice
get
that.
away
Really?
from,
That's
well, yeah, in Stephen King novels, there's violence against kids. I mean, obviously with
well, yeah, that's always
a
the
huge
kids.
thing. Salem's
Yeah.
Lot. One of the
Yeah.
creepiest things I've ever seen on film was Salem's Lot when the kid's floating in the air and he's like, let me in. And you're like, mother, I don't like that at all. But like the Asian film market didn't have that hang up. They're like, no, if you watch like Train to Busan, which is a zombies on a train kind of film, they're like,
Yeah.
no, zombies don't care if you're a child or not.
Right.
Or they're going to kill
Right.
everybody. They're going to
They're
try to
telling
eat babies.
everybody.
Like
It's yeah, that's interesting you asked that question, Tris, because if the story, if it works, yes. If you were doing that for shock value, no. But if you were doing that because you were showing that, hey, look, raptors don't care. They look at that as the weak link, and we're gonna take you out. Then it would definitely set a tone for whatever your vision was, right? The
This
one
was a
thing
dream too, so this
Yeah.
wasn't the real Tristan.
right. The one thing that I would disagree, the one thing that I hate is when, like, let's go to that movie Dawn of the Dead, where I think it was a
Right.
teenage girl that loved that dog so much she had to just basically ruin the plan for everybody and get the dog, and that allowed. Remember when she crawls into that space to get the dog?
Oh, right.
And the zombie stops the door and he starts crawling in, and now all of a sudden all hell's breaking loose and they have
Correct.
to like that's
Accelerate the
like
plan.
when you put a kid in that moment, or you put a I call, and forgive me audience, I call that the dumb female. That's the one that I feel like the dumb female should die there, or the dumb character should die right there, because you just put everybody in danger for a dog.
Right.
And I get it. I love dogs. Don't come at me, John Wick. I love dogs. I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
Red dot show up on his t-shirt.
Yeah.
But
but in that same film, the first zombie you see is like
a kid,
a 10-year-old girl.
Yes.
Now you don't
right.
see her attack and eviscerate or anything like that, but she shows up and you're like, okay, she's a zombie.
Yeah.
God, that's another film I gotta rewatch. That was another.
Because when you think about it, all right, I deal with big aggressive lizards on a day-to-day basis. I love them. They're my children. They have shitty days, right? There's no way in hell you're surviving a shitty day with a raptor,
right,
or a tyrannosaur. If I was to make a Jurassic World movie or Jurassic Park movie, let's be real, there's no survivors.
Right.
Humans don't survive that movie.
Are you telling me? Hang on, you telling me the hero with the six-pack does not get away?
Chris Pratt is screwed.
Tris, he has a six-pack. Don't you understand that? That's like a. That's like...
I understand. I understand Jeff Goldblum laying on the table too. I understand all of that. I understand Laura Dern running through. I understand Bryce Dallas Howard's heels. Nobody survives, bro.
No.
Nobody survives.
You are correct.
Nope.
Yeah, I know. It wouldn't last very long if we had dinosaurs. I remember having a conversation with somebody, and they're like, "Wouldn't that be cool if that actually existed?" I was like, "No, not at all."
Nah, bro. And then people say it's so cool. Come on, man. In Florida, they can't even deal with an outbreak of iguanas, and you want dinosaurs?
Yeah. Or anacondas. Or anacondas in the Everglades. They can't handle that.
Yeah, you can't handle this. No, that's not what you want. That's not. It sounds great.
So,
but it's not what you want.
Yeah, you've heard of Wisconsin Dells, right, Tris? Donchkow, you've heard of that place? Okay. So there's a place up there. It's called Alligator Alley, and it is right across from one of the big old water parks. And my son is just a major animal freak. So he's like, "Can we go there?" I'm like, "Yeah, let's go check it out." And I thought it was just going to be like a zoo, like go in, look at some reptiles, look at some gators. No, you can buy like live rats to chuck these things into their big pens, and it's you can feed snakes, you can feed the gators, and they've got
it's nature.
Couple turtles that you can just chuck mice in there, and looking at those. I mean, and these are I mean, they're gators, and so everybody knows what that's like. And see them like how they fight for food. Extrapolating that to like a velociraptor kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like we're all dead.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
no one
Absolutely.
gets out.
It doesn't end well for us. I'll tell you that much.
No. Hey, Tristan, how would you survive a zombie apocalypse?
I would survive a zombie apocalypse by being very stealthy and not being seen at all.
Yeah.
I think at some point it's probably going to be less about the zombies and more about the people. I mean, we saw how the fight for toilet paper changed people.
Oh my God.
Let's think about a zombie apocalypse. You know what I'm saying?
And that's
I mean, I've like had to like back out of aisles at Target here in Chicago when it first broke out. I'm like, okay, things getting a little heated. I'm gonna just go wait right here and get my toilet paper. But surviving a zombie apocalypse is just more about resources, fighting when you have to, and just staying the hell out of the way.
Yeah.
Only because I've thought of this on several occasions. This is a conversation my wife and I have all the time. Like, are we ready for the zombie apocalypse? How is your cardio? Like, can you make a fire?
Nope.
Like, do we have canned goods?
Like, Greg and I have had several conversations about this, and it was like all of a sudden we had an epiphany that, wait a minute, we just have to pretty much wait a month.
Yeah.
Because they'll rot and their muscles will not allow them to move anymore.
Right.
And we're like, all we have to do is just hunker down and just hang out for a month and not really
just quarantine.
Yeah. It was. Yeah, it really. I mean, if you can survive quarantine, by quarantine means you don't go anywhere. And then again, be quiet, figure out how you can survive. And if, because of where we live, if it's in the middle of winter, they freeze solid outside. So that's okay. And then in the summer with, almost triple digit heat, sometimes you're looking at, I mean, the body falls apart pretty dang quick. And the rate of decay, you don't have to like The Walking Dead should all take place within like a matter of 3 months. And then everybody's like, so how are we going to put this back together again?
Yeah. But then you got to think, it's just like with each zombie film, they always kind of like throw a twist on it. Yeah, and it's just like, when you think about the science of a decaying body.
Right.
Yeah, you're right. It really wouldn't last that long, but like whatever's keeping them reanimated for that time is like the biggest worry. Because I'll be honest with you, we had the Zack Snyder film that just came out, Army of the Dead.
Yeah.
Those were some bad zombies.
Well, they were mutating. Yeah.
Yeah, they were like mutated. Some were like mechanical. I'm like, huh.
Oh yeah, they haven't gotten into that. The robot zombie.
No.
Oh, I don't want to spoil anything if you didn't.
No. We talked about it.
Okay.
I literally frame by frame that, and I was like, that is a fucking robot. Like, what are they trying to say here?
Yeah, they brought so many questions in that movie. They brought up so many. You were like, was that a UFO I just saw? Okay.
Yes, it was.
Is this a UFO zombie? Like, why is that a robot? Was that a gear? Like, did his eyes flash like first?
Yeah.
You start checking all this stuff out, and you're like, what the hell is actually going on here?
And I'm gonna be honest with you. I thought I was tripping when I first saw it. I'm like, wait, I saw blue sparks.
Yep. Yeah.
Like, eyes lighting up. Now the UFO part, totally missed it. When that opening scene.
Me too. I missed it too.
I watched a couple of reviews on YouTube that talked about that. I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah.
And it was clear as day. I'm like, oh, okay. It's a lot of screen to look at, but
yeah.
Totally.
Tris, did you watch Loki?
I didn't.
You haven't watched any of it?
I got a whole list that I'm gonna just sit down.
Yes, you do.
And just binge. I haven't seen anything on Disney Plus since The Mandalorian.
Okay.
Which means I'm so out of the know, y'all. I'm so out of the know.
I'm just curious. I've noticed that you have a lot of. It's all DC behind you. Are you? Do you tend to? That's more your I guess your universe.
Your fandom.
Yeah.
it's more my fandom, and also I wanted to stick with this universe and these characters because I know them a little bit better than I do the Marvel characters.
Mhm.
Okay, fair enough.
My other Marvel squad that I was gonna do, I was gonna do my own version of the X-Men. I don't think I've ever said that out loud, but the X-Men were on the table, and I wanted to do my own version of a Justice League Dark. And how would that
Mhm.
look if I swapped out some of the characters and you know?
How mad are you that Benicio del Toro didn't follow through on that?
Um,
He was gonna do a
I'm
Justice League
mad.
Dark. Yeah,
Mhm.
I'm mad about it, but it keeps popping up every other year.
that's the
Like
most
J.J.
popular Justice League.
Abrams.
Yeah.
J.J. Abrams was connected to the last iteration of it,
Oh
so
man, that's one of my
I would
favorite
love.
things. Yeah, I love that.
Well,
Yeah.
and since Johnny brought up Benicio del Toro, I just watched all of the Hellboy films this weekend, and I think you would do a killer Hellboy.
Oh yes, Tris.
I mean, I know that
Yes.
he's sticking to DC,
Yeah,
but I love Hellboy, and
Hellboy is nice.
your style would fit pretty. I could see you doing a right-handed Doom.
Oh
Probably
yeah.
Yeah.
that would be cool.
Yeah.
Honestly, there might be a little bit of Hellboy in the Triceratops. I don't know. I don't know. He's pulling from a lot of areas. But yeah, Hellboy is somebody that I love that character. You
Yeah.
know, he was supposed to be a DC character,
Hmm.
but back then the whole theme of hell and they
Yeah,
they
they
just
turned it
wasn't.
down.
Yeah, but he was supposed to be a DC character.
I
Well,
didn't know that.
thank God he went to Dark Horse because I mean, I think they let him do a lot more
Be
than
him.
than
Yeah.
Oh
DC would
yeah,
have let him do and develop the character, and
way less red tape.
it brought great income to Dark Horse that they were able to do a lot of other projects too. So
Yeah.
Shout
Yeah.
out to Dark Horse. They got a
yeah,
good alien line too.
their
My
Alien line was amazing. Their Alien and Predator lines were when I found out. Now I've heard that Marvel's doing right by them and that they're decent. But I would suggest anybody go and pick up the omnibus of I think there's 4 or 5 omnibus of Alien books from
Yeah.
Dark Horse because they're
yeah,
great.
and they go there too. Like they go there. They're not afraid. I was really impressed with that. I forgot the name of the book, but I was very impressed with how true they stayed to that
Yeah.
universe. Even
Well,
just
here,
reading it, I felt like I was in an alien movie. I'm like, this is good. This is
on the
good.
on the topic of killing kids in films, um,
That's going to be the
I
title
w-
of this podcast.
I was
Killing kids.
I was
TrisRex.
shocked. I didn't really like the entirety of the film, but the second Alien versus Predator, where they've got the Pred Alien, landing on Earth like minutes after the first one, um, when they started killing off the teenagers, I did not see that coming because I'm like the first film was more like an action piece and less of a horror or anything like that, and then with the alien, I don't know if it was a spear or one of those like big saw blade things like they had in Krull. But he staples like the female teenage lead
To
like
the
to the
wall.
wall. Just
Yeah.
I was like, oh wow, they
That
did
was
that. I did not see
that was
that coming.
good. I
I
like
can't remember this.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
it
gonna
comes
be
up
honest with you.
comes
That
out of left
movie
field.
wasn't the most memorable.
Oh,
I
Uh,
okay.
had to rewatch it to like remember like you remember it for the key scenes,
right.
but it was I'm like, okay, okay.
It wasn't great. It wasn't
It
great.
was it
The
wasn't great.
the end
But
like
and it sucked because it was the Pred Alien was such a cool idea.
the climax of the film, and you can tell you're getting there because you're like, well, the film's not super long. This is the climax of the film, and you're like, it doesn't feel like the climax of the film.
Yeah.
It feels like this is just a regular old action scene. And then the movie ends, and you're like, that's it. Oh, okay.
It was a
Uh,
very small movie. And I say small because it doesn't really feel like they took us anywhere.
No, they
Out
really didn't. It didn't push the
it, it,
story forward. It didn't.
it like took place in like one neighborhood. I'm like, okay,
Mhm.
all right. But the Pred Alien was dope.
yeah.
You
So
had me with that.
so I'm gonna throw a question at you here, Trish. You have all the creative power in the world. How do you fix the DC universe on film? How do you do it?
Oh, okay.
Okay. So what I would do, I would just I mean, the best way to do it, I think they're kind of heading there with playing with the timelines. As
Okay.
far as like the character of the Flash, I think you could do some things by like introducing multiverses.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're gonna toy around with that a little bit. But if I had all of the creative power, I would start with a Justice League Dark film. I
Hmm.
would start with a Justice League Dark film. People really love the Justice League Dark lineup. I would have that um, be a big movie of its own, probably like 2 hours, 2 hours and 30 minutes. Introduce a couple members of the main Justice League line, spin that off into a bigger film, but just only having a couple characters. Maybe not necessarily solo films, but like say for example have a follow-up Superman movie that includes Batman and maybe introduces a lantern of some sort.
Hmm.
Okay.
I would say what they would need to do is introduce characters in a more tactful way instead of shoehorning them in.
You mean instead of,
And I,
oh, here's a file we have on them?
yeah, that file thing. I'm like, okay, they gotta get there somehow.
With
Okay,
logos.
with logos already, our marketing already. Um, yeah, I think it's I get what Zack Snyder was trying to do, and it's just one of those things where you just got to be you.
I
I'm
actually,
it,
I,
just
I
be
think you're
you.
right. I appreciate now that I think time has passed. I really appreciate what he was trying to do. It's really
Hmm.
quite brave,
He
and
was ahead of his time.
yeah, and I think people are
Even
going to
just
look
saying
back.
that, like 6 years from now,
Yeah,
people weren't, and
ready for it.
yeah, and it was one of those things where Marvel got us a little used to kind of knowing what to expect,
Hmm.
Yep.
kind of the cadence of a Marvel movie, and I'm not sure if people understand what Zack Snyder was trying to do with Batman v Superman. Because for him to have, first off, excuse my French, for him to have the balls to try to connect those three stories
Correct.
in one film, listen, hats off to the brother. Because a
Hmm.
lot of people wouldn't have had the gumption to actually do that, to do the death of Superman, to tell the story of the Trinity with the Dark Knight Returns, with elements of the Injustice story.
Yeah.
It's
Hmm.
like this dude was going for it, and now we're just starting to see it. And thankfully, we got the Snyder cut to kind of like show us, like, hey, man, this dude had a vision.
He did.
He
Yep.
had a vision, but I think one of the things that I always preach, and if you on my if you look at my timeline, I always try to preach originality as the artist, and not always comparing ourselves to other people,
Yeah.
or in this case
Hmm.
other movie studios being
Right.
Marvel.
Yeah, I
And I
think that
just think
was. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
telling that deeper, darker story, um unfortunately audiences just wasn't ready for that. And to be honest with you, I'm pretty sure you guys might have seen it, but for the listeners out there, if you haven't seen the ultimate version of Batman versus Superman with the extra 30 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
much better movie than the
Oh,
theatrical.
Yes.
extremely better movie. Oh my god.
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
it was so many things they left out. I'm like,
Things made
Zach,
sense.
see, Zack Snyder, I kid you, I kid you not. Zack Snyder either told the wrong person to screw off, or somebody really doesn't like him,
Right.
because
Right.
people making all this hype about the Snyder cut. I'm like, wait, people. This isn't the first time this has happened to Zack Snyder,
Hmm.
because he got screwed with BVS, and they made him the 30 minutes that they chose to cut were so vital.
Yeah.
And it's like, who did this do? Did he screw somebody's wife in high school?
Yeah. No,
Because
you're
this
right.
dude was he was on the money. The Lex
Yeah.
Luthor story made much
Yeah.
more sense.
Oh my
You
god.
got more Clark Kent,
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
and you really got to see how his Lex's Dark plan really unraveled, and how he like really played everybody.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And the theatrical that you saw in 2016, you don't get none of that.
Yeah.
You don't
No,
get
you're
none
right.
of
Right.
that.
Yeah. I think it was the executives out there, obviously, I don't know if they were scared and they truly didn't understand his vision, because I think what they thought Zack Snyder was going to do was they were going to bring the Marvel Cinematic Universe into the DC universe. So what I mean by that is they were going to go follow the exact same formula, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Zach was like, "Look, guys, we can't do that. Like
Right.
this universe will run out before Marvel's even done, because everybody's just going to think we're copying it."
Mhm.
And so he came up with a great idea with he came up with his vision of how he wanted to execute this. And I applaud him for that. I think it just scared the shit out of everybody. It just scared it.
Yeah.
And you're right. Audiences weren't ready. Like, what's funny is I think we're ready now, but we weren't ready
Yeah.
back then. I'll admit I was ready for the MCU's version of DC Universe. That's what I was ready for. I thought,
Right.
okay, this is the start of it.
Mm.
It's what we're gonna see. And when I didn't get that, I was like, what the fuck's going on? Right? Because you're right.
Yeah.
I got spoiled by the way Marvel did their thing, and I thought,
Right.
awesome. Now I get to see this all in DC. And no,
And the characters, you can't. The characters are so much different.
they are. They really are.
So much different. And that's why one of the things is just one of the reasons why I chose to stick with DC as far as expanding its universe, the depth of the stories that you could tell with some of these DC characters. I mean, some of these DC characters been around since,
Mm-hmm.
man, there's so many different source materials you could pull from.
Yeah.
And I would say that the best way you could do that is by introducing them in bigger storylines and just like minimizing the heroes so we could really sit down with these characters. Because even if you made like, I don't know, think of like the most obscure DC character. I mean, the trench. People
Yeah.
don't necessarily know the history behind the trench and how in the fall of Atlantis they transformed. There's a whole movie you could do just
Yeah.
about that, or a Man Bat. Like I try to aim for those obscure characters to shine some light on them and tell
Right.
a news story. But it's just the richness of the DC characters. You can't marvel them out.
Yeah.
I
I don't think so.
I think
Let me know if I'm wrong.
along those lines, I'm with you on obscure characters. I would, Johnny and I have talked about this in the past too. I would actually focus on some of those unknown characters or lesser known characters. And then I
Blue
would
Beetle.
yeah, I would. I'm telling you.
Blue
Did you
Beetle's
see
dope.
did you see the other guys with uh, Russell Crowe? What's his name?
Ryan
Totally blank.
Gosling.
Ryan Gosling,
I
directed
didn't
by
see
Shane
that one.
Black. The director, those three played off each other fantastic. It's got some great action. It's got a lot of comedy to it. I would do like a Booster Gold, Blue Beetle, almost trilogy. Like give Booster his own, give
Mm,
Blue his own, have them team up. But I would keep the Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman characters like that Trinity. You have them in the world, you have the character, you have them talking about them, you see them in the background or on the media, but you don't show them. They're not the feature. The feature is
mhm.
these other heroes trying to live up to the standard of these big three. And
Exactly.
that is how your universe would begin. And then it just, those bigger characters and the main characters are still the smaller ones, but then they're growing, and then eventually they're invited into like a JLA. They're they're
Exactly.
they're they're beginning to interact with these godlike icons, and you work your villainy so that they start small, but it's going to end up big.
Hmm.
Um,
And you just touched on something that I was talking about the other day. I think one of the things why it worked for Marvel is because there's a sense of inclusivity when it comes to
yeah.
their characters and when it comes to their teams.
Hmm.
But when you think of the Justice League or the Trinity, these are like one of ones. These are, like you said, god-like characters.
Hmm.
There could only be a few. I don't, and that's another reason why you have to tell their story with more reverence
Hmm.
and a little bit slower because there's a lot to unpack, like the
Yeah.
last son of Krypton, or like Diana of Themyscira. I mean, or even like I think a Martian Manhunter movie would be
Yeah.
dope.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
taking it back to like how he's the body that he chose as John Jones, you could tell some
Mhm.
historical pieces. A lot of iterations. You have him as a black guy. You have him as a white guy.
Yeah.
There's historical things you could tell from that perspective, and also you could have it um, being parallel to the war that they had on Mars.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
there's so much source material. Etrigan, speaking of
Oh,
Justice League
I
Dark,
love Etrigan.
yeah.
how dope would it be to see a live action Etrigan in a
Yeah.
Justice League Dark movie, and you have like a medieval scene showing
Yeah.
him? Come on, man.
You could
Listen,
do.
I
You
got
could.
the answers.
You
I
could
just need the
follow.
money.
What's that?
I got the answers. I
Yeah.
just need the money.
Oh, yeah. I think
Warner Brothers, call me.
if you actually
Come.
followed the MCU plan with just the Justice League Dark, that would take off.
Yeah.
You know, you do a
Mhm.
Constantine, you do a Zatanna, you do an Etrigan, you do a thing, and then they all bring them together to fight like Trigon or whatever. I'm just saying
Yeah,
that would work too.
that would really work. That would
I
really work.
you
But it's
bring a
just
Martian Manhunter. I could see
yeah,
that. Like he landed, like see him land on Earth in like the Civil War. And yes, you can play with the character here because most people don't know his history anyway. So you could have him land on Earth in the Civil War, see that experience from maybe the North and the South, and then have him
yeah,
live through the Oklahoma, the Black Wall Street, that is everybody is now discovering, quote unquote,
right.
was a real thing and actually happened. Um,
You talking
you know,
about Tulsa?
or Tulsa,
Yep.
yes, I'm sorry, Tulsa, Oklahoma. And have him it's just like bearing witness, like he's not coming out as a Martian, he's not coming out here, he's just observing mankind. And then when he finally does decide to appear, what is it? Like what is that driving force that makes him go, I need to, reveal myself to
Identify.
humanity?
Yeah.
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 You could
And
do
then
a
you have like
lot
a,
with
a
that.
a future scene, like if he does chooses to be a black guy and he's in a black neighborhood, and
Mhm.
he's at a bar and he bumps into somebody else from space, like John Stewart.
Yeah.
That's how you introduce the
I
lanterns.
Yeah.
I honestly I've always felt, and I have a lot of Justice League comics. I've got years and years of them. I always felt Martian Manhunter presented as a black character. Like his just how his view on things and his view on society and overall his humanity, I guess I would say. I really
Yeah.
I always felt that was,
I
if you
could
had to stick with.
always I agree. I always saw, and well, the Justice League cartoon kind of had a
Hmm.
lot to do with that too. But I think it really draws parallel with how there was a war between the white and the green Martians
Yeah,
on
yeah.
Mars. And I'm like, okay, it sounds like they had a little bit of '60s, civil rights movement kind
Yeah.
of inspiration coming from that. And the way they wrote, I'm like, okay, I could see him being a brother.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why in the cartoon when they had well, not Phil Lamar, but the other guy that voiced him, I
Hmm.
forgot his name. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. That makes
Yeah.
sense. And just
Yeah.
just like it's just like the power in of a film like that, like you say, with him being on both sides, north and south, like
Yeah.
when he actually has a choice, who does he identify as?
Yeah.
That's one of the most powerful things you could choose. Never mind all of the space and like intergalactic fights and stuff. That's dope too. But like, there's a message behind that.
Yeah. What's funny, Greg? We just watched The Watchmen on HBO.
Oh my gosh.
You know, the first
So
series, the
good.
first
Yeah.
the first opening episode.
Yeah.
I said that's a shame that this actually happened. And my
Yeah.
wife goes, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, "This Tulsa
That's
thing.
real.
This is like from history.
That's
That's
real
actually
shit.
happened." And she goes, "No, it didn't." I go, "Yeah, honey, Google it. Like this happened."
Hmm.
And I said,
Love.
I was as shocked. I was as shocked as you when I first heard about it because I didn't believe it either. Because I was never taught it. It was never brought to my attention until Greg brought it to my attention when we were because we went through this phase like everybody else did in the world where we were talking about race about every 2 or 3 episodes because shit was going down in the world, and
Yeah, man.
and then they brought out a Lovecraft Country.
Yep.
They had
Lovecraft.
something
They
in there.
touched on that too. Yep. I think it was one of the later episodes that was dedicated to that.
Yeah, and that's when we started talking about it. And Greg was like, this like really happened," and I was like, "Oh shit!" And it just, I don't know. I just remember that, but I just wanted to.
Well, I was a high school educator for a long time, and always tried to find bits of things to teach kids about that, honestly, just our system wasn't doing.
Yeah.
And so, but even like John's talking about when race was, well, and race still is a big issue, but about a year ago when everybody was really talking about it, we're like, we're two born and raised white guys that we're trying to talk about these topics. So we went out and found every guest we could to come in and bring in their view and their life experience and things like that. And that was very educational. I actually really am very proud of what we did with this show at that point. So
anyways, nice. That's good.
Yeah.
That's very good. I think the George Floyd times like really opened up a lot of people's eyes to just certain realities, and I think the beauty of it was well, not beauty of it because it was a horrible time and tragedy that happened, but one of the things that a lot of people were fortunate of is having the world slow down so you could be able to see
and
how
digest
heinous and ugly these acts are. It's things that I've been like, hey, as a black man, hey, when cops, you get stopped by cops, tread lightly. There's a certain set of rules for black men that look like me and big black scary looking dudes. When it comes to law enforcement, and it's just one of those things that's super real. I talked with a lot of people about that as far as like what they could do to help, and plus it was funny because a lot of followers on my page didn't even know I was black because I always had my face covered.
Oh,
until
interesting.
I made.
Did you notice a change when they figured that out?
Yeah. It was very inspirational. I had a lot of people reaching out. I had a lot of people that was thanking me for telling that story. So I actually, I'm not saying that I did it to get followers. I did it to be like, hey, before I was a Swamp Thing, before I was your favorite Batman, I'm a black man too.
Yeah.
And there's a responsibility that we got to take in this community, and just period, as far as what's going on in the world. And I think it just happened at a time where everybody was trying to, it was the whole blackout situation.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, this isn't the time to be silent.
Yeah.
This is the time to keep information flowing. And
one of the great.
I think it was just like, I don't know, it's just cool. And I'm just a very truthful and honest person too. I gotta say something. I gotta say something.
One of the great learning spaces I found in that point was a YouTube series called Uncomfortable Conversations with a Black Man.
Yeah.
And
I saw
it
that.
was, again, I was born and raised in very, very white southern Wisconsin. And so it was just almost like an exposure kind of thing. And wanting to say the right things at the right times, but always being nervous,
Yeah.
Like, because we even had a conversation a year ago and we had a person of color on. And I'm just like, do we say black? Is that okay for us to say? And they're like, yeah. Why would you? I'm like, because I don't want to offend anybody. I'm like,
yeah.
I was always told African
That's a
American.
very real thing.
And they're
absolutely.
like, well, thank you for caring enough to try to say the right thing. But you say African American. Well, not every black man is, or not every black person is actually African. They could be Cuban and just be dark skinned Cubans. And you're like, I didn't think about that. Yep, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
This is true. I encountered a lot of people where I could tell it's like, okay, I might be their first like real experience sitting down and talking with somebody who's like super black. And I say super black because it's like, I'm loud and proud. I don't really care. This is me. This is who I am.
Yeah.
You know, this is only one Tristan. This is
Yeah.
the same Tristan you get at work. I'm still a big ass nerd,
Yeah.
and you know, I just so happen to be doing it while black.
Did,
And
did,
I also, you know, and one of the reasons why I want to speak out on that is because I noticed that there is a lot of youth that follow you when you're a cosplayer or when you're
Yes.
doing things of
Yeah.
that nature. And for a lot of people, I might be their first introduction to somebody who's black
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
and show them what it really is.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like a little bit of responsibility. Like, hey, you know, this shit ain't cool.
Yeah.
Like I'm telling you now, like, yes, the Swamp Thing is black, and this shit ain't cool. What's going on? So
Yeah.
it's yeah, it was a pretty eye opening experience, man.
Did you
Very
find
eye
that
opening.
you were having a lot of conversations that you normally wouldn't have during that time that you didn't think you'd be like, I don't like you said, like the ambassador to someone that's had their first experience.
Yeah, it was a lot of questions on and I mean just outside of social media too. It was kind of
Yes,
like
of
ask a
course.
black guy for like a month, and it was because it was like, all
I was
right,
guilty. Yeah.
I've been here for a minute and we're just having this conversation because it's just about one of those things when we're comfortable. It's just certain things you don't have to think about,
Yeah,
and it's certain luxuries that
Mm-hmm.
comes with that.
absolutely.
And me seeing from the opposite side of the spectrum, like letting people in on how things really go, what it really means to identify as black, how I view the George Floyd situation, how I view the world, or
Mm-hmm.
what it is to have privilege. You know,
Yeah.
it was just very deep and hard hitting conversations where I'm like, all right, I'm not gonna sugarcoat shit with you or lie to you. This is how it truly is, and I just so happen to be um, a black man,
Yeah.
and you know, everybody listening to this podcast already know how the media in the U.S. or in this case the world perceives
Mm-hmm.
black men, especially when you're big, dark skinned. You know, you kind of
Yep.
like American. You kind of like a predator or some shit. It's like no,
Yeah.
I like playing with my lizards and making monsters. I don't care about all this other bullshit. I'm the
Yeah.
worst person you should ever fear. Like you wasting your time. But it coming from that perspective, I felt like it hit a little bit harder and it was a little bit more impactful because a lot of the people that ends up in these obituaries and a lot of the times law enforcement are killing us people that look just like me.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of like wears on you psychologically. It's like,
I'm
damn,
sure.
I saw this dude get killed and he looks just like my cousin. Or damn, he really looks like me.
Mm-hmm.
Or you know, it weighs on you because after a while, and me coming from Chicago, South Side in the
Yeah.
city, um, death is just another thing.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a certain numbness to come that goes along with that, and then it takes you to another level when you starting to see people get gunned down on video, and you see it all through your timeline. It's repetitive. It's repetitive. It's repetitive. You start to get a little numb, but not me, because it kind of hits home. Because like every time I'm going to Target, or every time I'm going somewhere, you know, it lingers in the back of my mind
Yeah.
somehow. But it's like, hey, I can't have fear over that. And I understand the whole law enforcement side too. Thankfully, I've been coached and got a lot of people in law enforcement that raised me and such. So I know how
Nice.
things are from the inside too. So, but
Wow.
it's just it's just a different way you got to move out here being a black man.
Yeah. I'm not gonna pretend like I remotely understand, but
It's
I
almost easier being Swamp Thing.
that's saying something. That's actually
Yeah.
powerful. Like that's
it's
actually a powerful
almost
saying.
it's almost easier for me to wear a man bat than it is
I
Swamp
bet.
Thing. And that also kind of like for me, it's easy to make creatures and monsters when the worlds have already perceived you as one. I kind of know how people react to seeing things that they're scared of, like the clutching of the purses, the walking the other way. I'm like, okay, I know how it is to be a monster. let's see how it is to really make a monster from the black
So,
man's perspective.
so Tris, let me ask you because I feel like we have this opportunity now where we can educate some people. Do when you're walking down the street, you notice people clutching their purses? You notice people walking the other way? You notice people locking their car doors if they're sitting in their car when you're walking by? Really?
I noticed. I'm just numb to it.
Oh, it just becomes like a numbing thing. It's not. It's
It's
just
like,
like.
yeah, I'm a black. It's
Now,
like
do
when
you look at them? Do you look at
see.
them, Tris, and you think to themselves like they're ignorant because they don't know me, or do you just look at them as racism because of how they're acting?
I think of it. Well, there's a little bit of both.
Yeah.
A little bit of
Mhm.
both. There's the prejudice, there's the racism, there's the ignorance from them not knowing me, and also I see them as just being human. And one of the things that we naturally do is self-preservation.
Mhm.
But the ignorant side is huge, huge. Because I remember like just going, and you know what? It's been some awkward times too,
I'm
where
sure.
I'd be walking on my way to work or getting off the bus, and I see another person that also works at the company that might not necessarily know me. And I see how they treat me outside the building, but like when they see that I'm into, or I walk into a meeting and they figure out that I'm the project manager or the lead or
Yeah.
something, like, oh, that was the scary black dude on the train. What's up? I'm like, nah, yeah, it's a little bit different out here,
Wow.
right?
Wow.
Wow.
It changes. It's just like that. But it's just one of those things that's kind of, I don't know, man. Kind of like white noise. Like, okay, you're scared of me. Cool. I'm not the person to fear. I just want to collect action figures and shit. But that's
It's
just
interesting.
how it is being a brother, man.
It's
Wow.
interesting. My son was just looking at. I mean, he's in middle school, so he's researching anything that pops into his head. I mean, because as all middle school, like, could you imagine when we were 13, if we would have had full access to the internet, we'd be looking up anything.
Porn.
He's not doing that. That's not where I was going with this. Um, but he had said he was looking for some reason. He was looking at birth rates and looking at birth rates of like different races. He goes like, "Dad, do you realize like in the next, if the trends keep, he's like, in like 60 years, he's like, everybody's pretty much going to be a mixed race of some kind
Yeah.
because the birth rate of whites even expanding from like even Europeans and Australians and white Americans is much lower. He's like, so eventually there's just going to be more intermarriage in society. He's like, and then everybody's just going to be, you know, a mix of brown and tan and whatever, because we're all going to have that in us anyway. I'm like, good looking out, buddy. You just kind of went there anyway. I'm like, well, yeah, go ahead. That's
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
I thought that was interesting
very true.
that
Fits my
and
theory that eventually we're all going to turn into the Greys.
good.
That's my theory, Tris. That's my theory. My theory are the Greys are like the 33rd century us. They're not aliens. They're time traveling and they're helping us along. And they're like, oh, this is where we fucked up.
Right
That's
believe that.
here.
I
cool.
believe that. Speaking of the Grays, do you remember the we're talking about signs, right? That's what you're talking about?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
talking about the gray aliens.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Or I'm well in this case, because they refer to the aliens from Signs as the Greys too. So that's
Oh,
where my
okay.
mind
Sorry,
went.
sorry. Go ahead.
Okay.
But do you guys remember that birthday party scene
Oh
when they're
yeah.
watching the
I love that movie.
when they're in the
Absolutely.
birthday, they're watching the birthday party, and everybody's talking, they're blowing out the candles, and you see the alien walk by.
Yep.
And I remember seeing that scene, and there was like this there was like this hot feeling in my stomach. You know how you get scared really quick and you
Yep.
feel like you got to poop or you might throw up, but you know you're hot.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it's like,
Yeah.
oh,
yeah.
that scene is what inspired Swamp Thing.
Nice.
Really?
My
Explain how. Explain how. Like, how did that
because
inspire?
I always saw my version of Swamp Thing as like a cryptid. I always saw him as like, I don't know, the boogeyman or
Yeah.
how
Almost
you,
Okay.
how you explain Bigfoot.
Like
Yeah.
a skunk ape.
urban legend kind of like.
Urban legend.
Did you see him?
Yeah.
Did you not? Some people say absolutely, and no, that's
Yeah.
just a blurry picture of something else.
Okay.
It's funny you bring up science because I did think of that movie earlier on in our conversation. We were talking about aliens and how they blended in the arm when the arm was on the radiator and it reached out.
Mhm.
That was my moment. The I got a poop moment. That was the when that happened. I was like, oh, I mean, just because I was in the theater. There weren't a lot of people in the theater, and I was definitely the most vocal person in there. But yeah, that was God, it was great movie.
That's a great
That
movie.
was-
Yeah, that was a great movie. The part that got me, it creeped me out, was when Mel Gibson finally sees what she's talking about when he like tucks her boo in bed and he looks up on his looks out the window and the aliens on top of the aliens on top of the barn.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
and they did it to where you're like, wait a minute, like you found yourself actually in the movie theater like going, wait, is that a that's alien. That's alien shit. There's something there. That was a really, really good movie.
I gotta rewatch that.
Me too. Me too. I gotta watch that because
that was so inspiring.
Yeah.
I love that.
M. Night made some good stuff. I'm interested to see about this new movie he's got coming out called Old. See it. I want to, but again,
I just want to figure out like why.
Yeah,
that's what I want to know. Just like why.
I will definitely give him a shot in anything he produced.
I'll give him a shot, but I don't. This isn't something I'm running to the theater to see. That's what I mean by that.
I don't know if running to the theater would be my reaction, but
that and Jungle Cruise. I'm not running there.
Yeah, I'm really not either.
Jungle Cruise, I'm watching that on Disney Plus. I am.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's a Thursday, Friday night.
Yeah.
Order some pieces. Just have fun.
His social media's been blowing up because he finished filming Black Adam, and this is supposed to be like the movie that's going to save the DC universe in films is Black Adam, and
I don't buy it.
They're filming Black Adam. They're also filming Shazam 2 at the same time, which
aren't they also doing Flashpoint?
And they're doing Flashpoint. So I mean, the people got to understand the DCU is not dead. I mean,
it's not.
They're putting money into it. There's things coming out, and I think out of all of those projects, I'm the most nervous about Black Adam. Everybody's like, "Why? It's The Rock." I'm like,
"Really?
Yeah." I mean, because I think people are building up their expectations so much because it is The Rock. It is a Dwayne Johnson project that they're going to set him up to be the new main character, more or less, of the DCU, but they don't understand the history of Black Adam and that he's a villain. And they're like, well, we're going to see how his downfall goes. I'm like, but to me, that's like Disney trying to make us love Cruella. Like, they're going to try to make us love a character and then be like, oh, by the way, he's a genocidal maniac. You're like, okay, yeah, how's this going to work?
He is not a good dude.
Yeah.
Not a good dude. They try to spin him off as an anti-hero in a lot of iterations, but Black Adam is nobody to play with.
Yeah.
Well, they're doing that now in the comics, aren't they?
Didn't
he just join the Justice League or something?
Maybe. I don't read DC anymore.
Oh.
He's been like, he's come in to help.
Okay.
I mean, a lot of the times it's just like world-ending type of situations where it's like the lines are blurred between like good and bad, and it's just like, okay, do you want to live? So it's just kind of different.
In the end, his character's history is trying to find a way to catch I always say Captain Marvel, but it's Shazam now. Try to find him when he's a teenage boy so he can kill the teenage boy. that's the
is that really?
I didn't know that. For years that's been his
that's his
character.
Main gist. Yeah.
Because he wants the Rock of Eternity. He wants to be the main wizard. And
speaking of eternity, have you seen the trailer, Tris, for He-Man Masters of the Universe?
That's
on
this
Netflix,
week, isn't it?
I think it is this week.
Oh my God!
I haven't.
See, you said you were 88. That was your birthday.
88. I was a little bit. That was a little bit after me. I mean, excuse me. That was a little bit before.
Before me, because I'm literally 10 years before you, And
Okay.
so Masters of the Universe came out in 85. And John gets on me for a lot of things about just not being excited or holding back my excitement for certain projects because I'm just like, okay, don't suck. That's what I don't want you to suck.
Yeah.
I cannot contain myself for this Kevin Smith Masters of the Universe series. Like every preview I watch, I'm watching it 10 times. It gives me goosebumps. I'm like, this
Yeah.
is gonna be awesome.
I'm
So
gonna check this out. I'm gonna check this out.
Yeah, it's on Netflix. Just check it on YouTube. The He-Man Revelation.
Revelations, yeah. And they're getting
I
into
like Kevin Smith too.
yeah. Oh, you
Kevin
know, we were talking about movies, DC movies that were going to be small. I really liked I think it was a Kevin Smith. He was involved somehow. They were going to do a prison movie about a prisoner who goes in and you find out he's infiltrating the prison to try to undo like some kind of gang or drug ring. And the main bad guy was going to be a DC supervillain. And you're like, oh, and then you find out that the guy who infiltrated the prison was Green Arrow.
Yes,
Like,
I've heard that for years. Yes.
like that was gonna be a film. It's dead in the water now,
Uh-huh.
but it was gonna
See,
be like a secret introduction of Green Arrow into the film universe.
Right.
that's dope. That's
That would have been great.
Yeah.
and
Because
I
they took a
was
character that no one's really in love with. I mean, he has his own little niche, but he doesn't have
yeah,
he's not like Superman. You couldn't do that with Clark Kent.
Right.
You couldn't do that
right.
with Batman. You can definitely do that with Green Arrow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he
And
can't
accept it.
and fly under the radar just like
Yep.
smooth, and then at the end it's like, oh, Oliver Queen. That
Yeah.
would be dope.
Yeah.
One of the things I always thought would be cool, and I thought they kind of missed the mark with the whole Suicide Squad movie.
Oh yes.
Is I always wanted to make well, it's kind of like aiming as far as why I chose this squad that I got behind me, but I always wanted to make like one of our trinities or one of the superheroes the villain to the
Mm.
Suicide Squad. You know, I
The
think
villain
that's
trilogy? You mean like that?
well, I want to make the Suicide Squad have a villain that's one of our heroes and show them in that light. Like I think it would be really dope to like have Batman be a villain in a Suicide Squad movie and show like the urban legendness or like
Right.
really make him like a spawn horror like type of
Okay.
form
Okay.
in a darkness and like him picking off villains and just flip it on his head a little bit. And I
Yeah.
thought the Suicide
So
Squad movie was you know, it was
there
interesting.
love the idea. And you might be a little upset when I say you that this is happening. But it's going to be a video game. The Suicide Squad video game. They're given a mission, and it's to take out Superman. So you're playing as
I saw
Suicide
that.
Squad members, and that you're going to be actively trying to, I don't know if it's kill or somehow incapacitate, whatever, but you're going after Superman. And that's going to, I think your final boss battle is going to be the Suicide Squad taking on Superman. I'm like, well, that
See,
is
that's what
interesting.
very interesting.
I might, and I'm a video gamer, so I might be down with that. I mean, just to see how it goes. That might be one.
Yeah. That's what's up. I think it's telling stories, just kind of like switching roles sometimes. It's
Mhm.
Yeah,
just-
the
just
whole
making-
what if, else worlds, things like that.
yeah, or just like really building up the fear of why thugs are intimidated by the Batman. Like kind of like
Yeah.
in the Arkham series.
Yeah.
If you played the Arkham series, if you just like flying around Gotham, you'll hear thugs telling stories about
Yeah.
their first run-in with the Batman, and it sounds like a tall tale or like an urban legend, like we were talking
Mhm.
about with Swamp Thing. I think like showing it from that perspective would be dope too. Just like
That is a cool perspective. Yeah.
like
You know what I
like,
you know I
it's
can picture
not
already?
real.
Yeah, you know what I can already picture, Trish, is a bunch of villains. I think they actually did a comic book of this where they were at a poker table talking about their first encounter or how they almost killed Batman. But
Yeah.
but if you were to do this in a movie,
Okay.
if you were to do this in a prison where you have a bunch of bad guys just talking about their first run in and why they're in here now because this is what he did. And you know how villains will always, or when you're telling stories,
Embellish.
always going to embellish it,
Exaggerate.
make yourself
Yeah.
and like, dude, he came out of the shadows, and before I knew it, he had laser beams, and it's like, no.
Fangs dripping blood.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's the type of stories in kind of Elseworlds I would go, and I think it would be dope to see that on the silver screen.
yeah.
Will we ever see it one day? I don't know.
I think we
I
will. I
never
think
thought we'd see the Justice League at all. If you would have told me we would have had a Batman v Superman, a Justice League movie like when I was a kid, I'd probably say you were lying.
yeah.
I'd say you were on something.
I
Like that's
thought
never
we
gonna
got
happen, dude.
I thought we got our best version of the MCU's version of the DC universe with the Bruce Timm universe, the cartoons, how they went from Batman the animated series,
Mm-hmm.
Superman, Justice League, Justice Unlimited.
Yeah.
I thought those were
Thank you for bringing that up because I don't think people remember how good those Justice League episodes
they
were.
were fantastic.
Now everybody remembers Batman in the animated series and Batman Animated Adventures,
Yeah.
but Justice League and Justice League Unlimited,
Yep.
that is storytelling.
Yep.
Yes.
That
Absolutely.
is some of the best animated storytelling I have ever seen. And we rewatch these every once in a while.
Yeah. Well, they're on
Just for shits
HBO
and
Max
giggles.
now. You can watch them all on HBO Max.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
My kids are hooked on the Young Justice series right now. Like the three of them have to watch it
That's
together.
Yeah.
excellent.
It is excellent.
I didn't watch
Young
the
Justice
third
is good
season,
too.
but the first two seasons
Yeah.
was fantastic. Yeah.
And there seems just to be a disconnect. Like, who's working for the animated department?
Yes.
And how
Yeah.
could you get them
Yeah.
on some of the
Yeah.
silver screen projects? Because the stories, and that's one of the things that I always tell people too, is like DC has it going in a lot of areas.
Yep.
Like
Mhm.
their animated movies, like
They're solid.
they're uncomparable.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like all they need, I'm gonna be honest with you. There's this movie, I think it came out in 2010, 28, Justice League Doom.
Yes.
If you ever
Yeah.
saw it,
Yes.
Justice League Doom, make a live action version of that.
Mhm.
That's all you need.
Yeah.
That's one of the best stories I've seen in a while when it comes to
Based off the Tower
Justice
of
League.
Babel, right, Greg? Is it based off the Tower of Babel?
I can't remember if that's the actual name of that storyline, but yes,
That's
it's
with
based.
Ra's al Ghul, where he sneaks in and takes Batman's plans to take out the Justice League. Isn't that
Is that
Justice
right?
League Doom?
Oh, that's actually, well, I'm not sure the Tower. In the cartoon version, it was Vandal Savage.
Yes,
Yeah.
Vandal Savage. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I say I
Yeah.
don't think it was Raz, but yeah, it was Vandal.
Yeah.
But yes, it is where
Okay.
he steals
Yeah.
Batman's files and Batman has contingency plans for everybody.
Yeah.
I remember reading.
I love that. I love
I
that.
Let me
read
ask
that-
you a question real quick. Both of you seem to be really high in the DC, so maybe is that where Batman became a badass? Where people went, whoa.
I
It
think
definitely. It was. I mean, he was always rumored to kind of have that level of angst against his superpowered compatriots.
Okay.
But yeah, that specific storyline, and that came out. I was maybe I was in high school or college, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit later. But I remember reading it, and I can still visualize the panels of Batman screaming into the comms. He's like, I know who's doing this. I know what's going on. It's me. And you're like, what?
Mhm.
And then the next issue, you find out that his files have been stolen. These are his contingency plans. And you're like, you dick. I mean, just kind of, and you know, he's like, I know how this is all happening. Somebody must have hacked my
Yeah.
files. And then the real story becomes not just how do you get the Justice League back to functionality again,
Yeah.
but how are they going to deal with Batman? How are they
Yeah.
going to deal, I mean, with this character that everybody trusted, and now, and they in the end, they kick him out. But it was, it was some
You're right.
great
That was a great
storytelling.
one. That was a
That
great
was
one.
that was such a good one. But to answer, I don't know if there was like this one defined moment where people just realized he was a badass, because I think the Frank Miller,
Right. But
Right.
I always
Dark Knight
thought that
Returns.
people thought like the Dark Knight's a separate universe. That doesn't happen in the I guess the sacred
Right.
timeline. It's
technically,
it's
yeah.
off. So I just remember when I don't know when I was, but I remember reading that thinking, "Oh, wow, this guy's like he's fighting dirty. Like
Yeah.
he's
That's not the Bruce we know.
And
yeah,
you're
yeah.
John, you're
That's
right.
not the
It
guy
is
from Super Friends and I don't know,
right.
Robin, let's check it out. It's
You're
not
absolutely
that
right. It is Tower of Babel.
is it
And
Okay.
in the comic it was his files were stolen by criminal mastermind Ra's al Ghul.
Ra's al
And
Ghul, yeah.
it written by
Mm,
it was 2001, written by Mark Wade, who was just killing it in comics at that point.
I'm gonna reread that
He still
too.
does. He still does kill it.
He said, well, he does. He
He had
does.
a great Doctor Strange run before they just stopped doing Doctor Strange. I don't know
Yeah.
why.
I didn't mean to say like he's past his prime. I
Right,
just
yeah.
in those early 2000s
Yes.
could not do wrong in writing a comic. I mean,
Yeah.
Right.
I was picking up stuff that I didn't even want because Mark Wade was writing it.
Oh wow.
I have
Yeah.
a run of Kazar that he and Ron did.
Kazar.
Kazar, yeah.
From the
and I'm
Savage
like,
Planet. I mean
they
Savage
went-
Island, yes.
they did a great run. I discovered them on an awesome run they did on Captain America. And then they're like, hey, we're watching a Kazar book. I'm like, I really don't want to get a Kazar book, but it's Mark Wade and Ron Garney. I'm gonna get it.
Did he do a little bit of Adam Strange?
I don't know.
Because Adam Strange did a run and I'm still not into that character, but that run
Right.
I was like, this is awesome. But
Oh, yeah. Sorry. I was thinking Adam Warlock. But yes, he did do an Adam Strange run.
okay, it was probably what I was reading there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He did Adam Strange. He invented Quantum and Woody. It's a great
Wow.
independent piece.
Tris.
That would be a great movie I would love to see made. Quantum and Woody, John, they're two boyhood friends who get like their dads were like military research scientists, and they get these bracelets that it's supposed to be worn by the same person, but no one can withstand the power, and they die. But they each get one, and so every day they need to clang their bracelets together to maintain like their molecular structure.
Oh.
One is like a super militaristic guy,
Yeah.
and he becomes the superhero. Like he wants to become a thing. That's Quantum. Woody is just this slacker stoner dude who just wants to go out and have fun. And how they become superheroes. It was hilarious and fantastic.
Hey, speaking of crazy stuff, Tris, you ever watch Rick and Morty?
You know what? I haven't been able to. I've got into like a couple of episodes, but I think I just missed the boat.
Yeah.
Like when everybody first was talking about Rick and Morty, it just like went by, and I was like, "Oh damn!" Bye everybody.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you.
And I just never got into it. But some of the episodes look hilarious.
Yeah.
Oh, they're so funny. I get a kick out of it. But you know what, Greg and I are kind of weird like this. We will gravitate towards shows that each other one's like, I can see why you like it, but it ain't for me.
Yeah.
Like he loves Letterkenny, some Canadian show. And I've tried, God knows I've tried. And I'm just like, I see why Greg likes it, but I don't. It's not for me.
Yeah.
But anyway.
I give it a shot though. Like if you got specific episodes, but it looks funny.
Look
The
up
latest
Letterkenny
one. The latest one. It can go. My favorite episode of all time is Pickle Rick. I forced Greg to watch that one, but the other one is the other one I just watched. Okay, spoiler alert for anybody that hasn't seen the latest episode of Rick or Morty, but I didn't know this, but Morty's mom is a veterinarian at a horse hospital.
Oh. Okay.
So he's interning there, and he sees the machine that ejaculates the male horse.
Okay.
And he gets this
Oh,
big
wow.
eye. He gets this big eye thing, and he's like, "Mom, I think I want to intern here." So you find out he's on next scene. He's on, like, he's sitting on his roof, like, all back going, "Morty, you're a bad little boy," And then you find out that Rick stole the sperm from the horses and was trying to make some sort of thing because he was going at war with other horse species, and ended up turning into like this sperms taking over the world. And like they
Okay.
finally find out it's Morty's that did it. They're like,
Is that
Morty, you
okay?
sick son of a bitch.
I think I saw a Rick and Morty poster, and it was like a Tremors poster. Instead of a trimmer, it was like a
Yeah.
sperm with the mouth
Yes,
open.
yes, that's probably where it's from. But it's so
Oh man, that's
weird.
hilarious.
It's so weird how they go from this to that, and you're like, oh my God. Like
Big
it's
swing.
just nuts. And I was actually going to bring this up with you, Tris, because I wanted your opinion on some things. When it comes to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I'm wondering if we're starting to get into this point now where we're going to start losing audience members because it's starting to get a little to where us three would know what's going on. We go, oh, that's King. Okay. And then other people are like, I don't know, like I'm lost. I don't know what's going on here. And I'm wondering if that's going to start happening and if we're going to start losing audience members because it's going to start getting too
Too
Rick
deep.
and Morty-ish.
No.
Yeah. You
No?
know
You say
what?
no, Greg?
I don't think so. I don't think they'll let the writers
Go that
take
far?
the audience members out of it that much.
Okay.
You
I
know.
hope so.
I mean, for me, yeah, that's cool because I still go to the comic shop
Right.
every Wednesday.
Yeah.
Like that's a ritual for
What
me.
what are your comics besides Swamp Thing? What are your comics, Tris?
I was rereading Batman and Robin from 2011 when I was working on the Hellbat just to kind of
Mhm.
like get more into that story. But the
Okay.
last thing I was Alan Moore's the anatomy lesson. That's one thing, of course. But other than that, I was looking at the Dark Horse Aliens run.
Mm-hmm.
That was super dope. I forgot the name of it. Um, that was good, but I haven't. I want to reread the Long Halloween. I want to
Yep.
read the Long Halloween, um, and Nightfall.
Okay.
Nightfall. That one's on the list too. So I'm still kind of in that. I'm working my
Yeah.
way out of that DC area mainly because I gotta. This part of the portfolio, I have to stay in it a little bit
Yeah.
just to flesh out the stories and do that and like watch some of the animated films and stuff. But I'm really trying to expand as far as like some of the books that I am trying to read. But for the past couple of visits, I've just been picking up figures to be honest with you, like old Alien Resurrection action figures
Okay.
and stuff like that.
Did you watch Invincible on Prime
I
Video?
didn't. I didn't.
Dude, Tress, drop what you're doing right now. Podcast is over. Go watch the first episode. If you don't
I'm
like
the
it after the
most.
first episode, you're not a comic book fan.
Oh,
I,
stop it.
hey, I'm the most like out of tune comic book superhero watching
No,
comic book
actually,
lover.
I get what you're doing.
That
You're in the zone right now, and you're trying to create
yeah,
this Everest. So you're in the lab. I get
So
it.
I've been locked in.
something you should pick up, and I know they're coming out. They've got them in. There's 2 volumes. They're coming out with volume 3 is from Boom Studios. It's called Once in Future, and
Okay.
one Once in Future deals a lot with they just call them stories, but in the first arc, it's King Arthur, and King Arthur is resurrected, and everybody kind of hears the Arthurian legend, and they think King Arthur is like the good guy, and it turns out they're like, well, who is Arthur fighting when he was supposedly king? They're like, oh, the Saxons. Like, yeah, that's Europeans. And he wanted to slaughter all of them. And so he again comes out as like this. And what I think from your perspective, there's a lot of inspiration you can take from a lot of the creature designs that they have in there because they've got
Mm.
some awesome creatures. But it's a great story, and I I'm not even going to go too deep into it, but check
Yeah.
that one out. Just go
Yeah.
Once in
You say
Future,
once in future?
Once in Future from Boom Studios.
Yeah.
It's been one of my
Okay.
favorite books for the past 2 years.
Once in
Cool.
future.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah,
Tris, we're gonna have to cut this short, man. We're already 2 hours in, man.
yeah.
Yo, It
We've been
seems
having
like
this
we've
much
been
fun.
talking for 30 minutes. This has been a blast, man.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
and we warned you that we're gonna go all over the place. I'm
Yes.
so happy that we did because
Yeah,
we covered a
man.
lot of stuff. And
Yeah.
I know John's gonna do our sign off here, but I really just really super impressed with your work. I can't wait to make it to looking at C2. They moved C2E2 almost a couple weeks before Christmas, so I'm trying to make that one work out.
Yeah, that's gonna be tough.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is going to be tough. But I haven't talked to John about it yet. But he lives close enough to Rosemont that Wizard World in October might be something that we could do.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
That's just down the road from him. So
Yeah. We'd love to meet up with you there.
Yeah.
Have a drink while you're relaxing after whatever monstrosity you decide to carry that day.
Yeah, man.
Tris, it has been awesome talking to you. I've had so much fun. I didn't even know we were 2 hours into this thing. I looked up. It felt like it was 45 minutes. I looked up thinking, oh, we're in good time. And I was like, oh, shit, we're at 2 hours.
Yeah, man.
Which is, I love when we go off like this and we have a guest that can just roll with us. So it's been a pleasure, man. I would love to get you back on here when you start getting new creations or you want to get on here and promote your studio. Speaking of that, where can people find you right now to like check it out, like Instagram, Facebook? Where can they find you?
Yeah, on Instagram you can check me out at TrisRex. That's TrisRex. On Facebook, same thing, TrisRex Studios. And yeah, you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Vero Social. That's another one that's more geared towards some of the cosplays, as well as YouTube as well. You can find me as TrisRex on YouTube too. So I'm floating around everywhere. If you guys have any questions or you have any comments about how things are made or any questions, get at me. I'm gonna get right back to you, and I make sure to talk with everybody and spread that love and positivity through the art of practical effects and cosplay, man.
I love it. Any chance the Greg and I can get a visit to your studio one day?
Yes.
Awesome.
Oh yes.
Cool.
Hell
Cool.
yes.
Cool. All
Do
right, man.
a live version of this in the studio.
Yeah.
Oh,
that would be
great.
cool.
That'd be awesome.
Live
Greg,
version.
sign us off, sir. Anything you'd like to leave the crew with, the audience with?
Same as always, as you guys are making it through your weeks, remember, 1, verify your sources. Always a big thing. 2, know your audience. And as you're doing those, always remember part 3, don't be a douche.
Boom. 4, Tristan Johnson, the Greg. This is Johnny. Podcast out, people. Have a great weekend. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Peace.